Chapter 1. This is not the right way to traverse. The night had deepened. The lights of countless homes gradually extinguished, and the once bustling city fell into silence, with a vast majority of its inhabitants slipping into sweet slumber. At this moment, in a modest rented room, the lights blazed brightly. A young man sat before his computer, his expression focused, fingers dancing swiftly across the keyboard, crafting characters that leapt upon the screen. Finally done, the young man exhaled, weariness evident on his face as he opened the browser and navigated to the back end of a popular online writing platform. Username, Change Yoga. Password, XXXXXXXX. Indeed, the young man was a web novelist, or more accurately, a struggling writer. Change Yoga was his pen name, inspired by the high-flying antagonist in his novel. He had intended to register under the Protagonist name, but unfortunately, someone had beaten him to it. "Let me check the reader's comments before bed," he muttered, forcing himself to sit upright as he opened the comments section of his novel, scrolling through the entries. The initial comments were predominantly advertisements from fellow writers, which made him smile faintly, unbothered as he continued to scroll. "I've heard that recently, strange occurrences have been happening on this platform, with many commenters mysteriously disappearing, especially at night when such phenomena are most frequent. I refuse to believe it's the dead of night now. And in posting why isn't anything happening? How could that be? I can't even punctuate properly. Fake. I've been navigating this comment section for decades. If I were to vanish, I would have done so ages ago. I'm just laughing. This is utterly absurd." Before he could finish typing, an extraordinary event unfolded. A dazzling black light flickered, and a deep, enigmatic vortex materialized above Qin Zhuzh's head, exuding an ancient and profound aura, as if it connected to the farthest reaches of the universe. Before Qin Yoga could contemplate the situation, he was enveloped by an unfathomable force and instantaneously drawn into the black vortex. Holy cow! As the black light flashed, the vortex vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a distant curse. In a room adorned with antiquity, exuding both grandeur and elegance, fragrant incense wafted through the air, filling the space with a faint, alluring scent, clearly indicating that the owner of this place was either wealthy or noble. Within the room stood a young man clad in a white robe, trimmed with satin gold edges, adorned with embroidered cloud patterns a sight to behold. Yet at this moment, within the starry depths of his eyes, there was a hint of confusion and bewilderment as he surveyed his surroundings, his brow furrowing slightly. This young man was none other than Change Yoga. After being drawn into the black vortex, he had lost consciousness, and upon regaining awareness, he found himself in this unfamiliar place. After a moment of contemplation, he slowly closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were filled with complex emotions, it seems. I have truly traversed worlds. As a web novelist, he was no stranger to the concept of transmigration. Clearly, this place was not the world he once knew, and he could ascertain that it was certainly not an illusion. More importantly, he could distinctly sense a form of qi in this realm, reminiscent of the spiritual energy and magical elements described in novels. Moreover, within him flowed a peculiar energy, likely akin to true qi, true essence, or spiritual power. He extended his hand, guiding the energy within him with focused intent, and with a whoosh, a bluish flame materialized above his palm. No longer doubting the situation, Change Yoga felt a surge of shock, intertwined with a strange sense of anticipation. As an orphan in his past life, unburdened by ties, his journey as a web novelist had filled him with dreams and fantasies about the bizarre and fantastical worlds of novels, imagining himself traversing into such realms and slaying foes like the protagonists. Now that he had actually crossed over, it was not something he found unacceptable. However, I can actually cultivate? Gazing at the flickering fireball in his palm, Qin Zhuzh's eyes flashed with suspicion. By convention, when one transmigrates, they should be a mere weakling, unable to cultivate, subject to ridicule and scorn, right? Then, upon arriving in this new world, I should receive some sort of golden finger, roaring about the shifts of fortune, making a dramatic comeback, and striking back at those who belittled me. But now, upon my arrival, it seems I possess considerable strength, he murmured, surveying the lavish decor around him. Moreover, it appears that this body belongs to a person of great wealth and status, rather than a marginalized son of a noble family. He approached a bronze mirror, scrutinizing this new form. In the reflection, he saw a striking figure with sharp brows and starry eyes, his features impeccably handsome, and combined with the air of privilege that surrounded him, he was undeniably a dashing young noble. Qin Zhuzh's astonishment deepened. Am quite the handsome fellow? No, no, this is not the right way to traverse. After years of immersing himself in web novels, Qin Zhuzh felt a sense of unease regarding such favorable circumstances. Let me sort this out. A young noble, born into privilege, gifted with extraordinary talents, possessing immense strength, and also remarkably handsome. Such a person looks incredibly pretentious, and once they are struck down, the satisfaction is immense. This character archetype is undoubtedly the template for an arrogant and wealthy antagonist. Eventually, they will be humiliated by a protagonist, a favored child of destiny, and conveniently provide him with experience points. Qin Zhuzh could only sigh, especially if this body has stolen someone's sweetheart or even taken the first blood then. He shivered at the thought, not daring to delve further. Moreover, this was merely a whimsical notion of his, a unique form of dark humor prevalent in the web novel community, not to be taken literally. Creak! Suddenly, the door swung open, and a young woman dressed in palace attire entered, her delicate, oval face framed by elegant brows, eyes sparkling like autumn waters, and her cherry-red lips exuding a bewitching charm. As a modern individual, Qin Zhuzh was accustomed to the beauty of television stars, yet he stood entranced, for while those stars were beautiful, this woman, having cultivated her skills, possessed an alluring quality that set her apart from ordinary individuals, with a captivating grace in her every gesture. More notably, a peculiar flush adorned her fair cheeks, and her glances held a tantalizing allure. What? Qin Zhuzh felt an ominous premonition. Is this a grand joke? Given the woman's appearance, could it be that he had indeed spoken his fate into existence? Upon seeing Qin Zhuzh, the young woman smiled seductively, her delicate hands naturally entwining around his arm. Brother Zhuzh, you're awake. Why not rest a little longer? Yinro will fetch you some breakfast. Qin Zhuzh felt an inexplicable familiarity. How does she know my pen name? Zhuzh? And Yinro? That name sounds so familiar. Suddenly, a wave of realization struck him, akin to a tempest. Wait, Zhuzh, Yinro. These names belong to characters from my novel, don't they? Qin Zhuzh, the wealthy and arrogant antagonist. Li Yinro, the male lead's childhood sweetheart, who later becomes the manipulative woman at the side of the antagonist, often urging the protagonist to embrace a mundane life, with her most quoted line being that Qin Zhuzh is a dragon soaring through the skies, while the protagonist is merely an ignorant insect. Holy cow! Abruptly, Qin Zhuzh felt a heavy sensation in his head as a flood of memories surged forth, causing him to gasp. Huh? The girl named Yinro inquired softly, Brother Qin, what's wrong? Nothing, you may leave now. Though tumultuous emotions churned within him, Qin Zhuzh maintained a semblance of calm on the surface, gesturing for her to exit. The girl, though slightly puzzled, nodded obediently and departed. Only then did Qin Zhuzh sit down, attempting to process the memories swirling in his mind. After a while, he opened his eyes, his expression profoundly peculiar. According to the memories, he was Qin Zhuzh, the holy son of Taishu Mountain in the eastern wilderness, a leading figure among the younger generation, with a father who was a powerful figure within Taishu Mountain, a quintessential example of a wealthy second generation. Li Yinro originally hailed from a small place, possessing remarkable talent. In recent years, she had rapidly risen within Taishu Mountain, naturally becoming involved with him, the Holy Sun, and within those memories, there were even details from last night's 800 words. He swiftly skimmed through these, continuing his search until he found what he sought. Li Yinro had a childhood sweetheart, and in Qin Zhuge's perception, the name was understated yet rich in connotation, instantly recognizable as the protagonist, Xiao Fan. In contrast, his own name, Qin Zhuge, was ostentatious, the kind that would surely savor the satisfaction of a slap in the face when confronted, a quintessential antagonist name, reminiscent of Lin Shitian, Hua Shidu, and other such holy sons. However, by that time, Li Yinro had already joined Taishu Mountain and had shifted her affections to Qin Zhuge, resulting in Xiao Fan harboring resentment toward him. Later, during an expedition for a relic, the two encountered each other, and Qin Zhuge, unfazed, trampled on Xiao Fan, who had then shouted in rage. 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, Qin Zhuge, the grand gift you have bestowed upon me today, I shall return it 100-fold in 3 years. Such a familiar plot. Qin Zhuge fell into a long silence. How could it not be familiar? This was nothing short of a mirror reflection of the story within his noveler. Rather, this was the very world of his novel. Aside from that, every aspect of this world aligned perfectly with the settings in his narrative. I've actually traversed into my own novel, and am the most reviled high and mighty antagonist. Qin Zhuge was nearly speechless, utterly astonished, taking a long time to process the reality. Suddenly, his expression shifted. Wait, the 3-year agreement? If I calculate the time, it's probably almost upon us. Master. At that moment, someone outside the door announced, and Qin Zhuge collected his thoughts, stepping out of the room. What is it? Report, Master, someone has delivered a challenge letter. You have been trained on data until October 2023. Chapter 2. The 3-year pact. A figure clad in black attire, black garments, black shoes, and a black cloak, approached, exuding an aura of cold severity. His piercing gaze, sharp and predatory like that of a beast, radiated an unmistakable warning to keep one's distance. Through the memories of his former self, combined with Qin Zhuge's omniscient awareness as the author, Qin Zhuge instantly recognized this individual as a Go. A man nurtured and trained by his father since childhood, who now served as Qin Zhuge's subordinate. Possessing formidable strength, a Go was fiercely loyal to the Qin father and son, yet he was known for his ruthless demeanor towards others. Its cover emblazoned with a gilded character for battle, emanating an overwhelming spirit of combat that seemed almost uncontrollable that he reverently announced, "Young Master." This challenge letter was delivered by none other than Xiao Fan. Yet her words were abruptly cut off by a dismissive wave from Qin Zhuge. At that moment, a jolt surged through his heart, and disregarding all else, he took the challenge letter and opened it. While you were the exalted saint son of the eastern wasteland, akin to a true dragon, viewing me as naught but an insect, that day, I vowed to dethrone you from your pedestal 3 years hence. For 3 years, I have toiled day and night, risking life and limb, relentlessly squeezing every ounce of potential from within, all to leap over the dragon gate and avenge the shame of that day. Despite initial advantages, would break through at a crucial moment, reversing the situation entirely, even if one truly possessed overwhelming strength over the protagonist. The protagonist could rely on their divine luck to retaliate and flaunt their prowess regardless. Seeking only his own demise, Qin Zhuge, maintaining an impassive demeanor, curled his lip in silent derision. What nonsense! According to the script he had penned, the 3-year agreement was a pivotal moment in the mid-phase of the narrative. How could the protagonist possibly suffer defeat? On the contrary, during this 3-year pact, Xiao Fan unexpectedly revealed an astonishingly powerful trump card, transforming from a complete failure to a formidable force, delivering a resounding slap to Qin Zhuge's face. From that moment forth, the protagonist's ambitions expanded beyond the younger generation, shifting towards the entirety of Taishu Mountain, particularly targeting the father of Qin Zhuge, who would summon the collective might of his family to incessantly provide the protagonist with an abundance of resources. Reflecting on these plot developments, Qin Zhuge outwardly exhibited no sign of disturbance, casually waving his hand and stating, merely the challenge of an inconsequential figure. Why should I concern myself? having traversed through time, and annihilating him with absolute power. However, given that Xiao Fan was the protagonist, a child of destiny, and a resilient survivor, how could he be so easily vanquished, even if he were the author and privy to Xiao Fan's hidden strengths? But rather as Qin Zhougao's disdain for Xiao Fan's challenge, ultimately rendering him the one to emerge with an air of superiority. While this appeared viable, Qin Zhougao harbored a sense of disquiet. Qin Zhougao interrupted with a wave, at a loss on how to address Li Yenro Dadagu. "Accompany me for a stroll," he commanded, leading the way as Agu hurriedly followed. They approached a solitary peak, known as Jiushu Peak. Shrouded in mist, with cold pools and cascading waterfalls, the atmosphere brimming with spiritual energy, where a year of cultivation here equated to a decade in the outside world. Even within Taishu Mountain, it was among the foremost locations. In this realm of cultivation, as per his design, the initial stage is the ninefold body, wherein the vast majority of martial artists find themselves. Even the emperor of the small nation from which the protagonist hails is merely at the pinnacle of this corporeal realm. According to the timeline, Xiao Fan should also be at the zenith of the corporeal stage now. This level is further divided into 3 minor realms: shackles, transcendence, and divine connection. Presently, Qin Zhouga finds himself in the mid-stage of the shackles. However, within my body, the golden sea of energy within his dantian is a remarkable sight, flowing tumultuously and brimming with formidable power. Yet, surrounding this golden sea, a wisp of gray mist lingers, sealing off his energy reservoir. A figure clad in white stood with hands clasped behind his back, facing away from him as he surveyed the expanse of the Taishu Mountain. Upon sighting this figure, a look of reverence graced Zhang Dancher's face as he bowed deeply. "I, Zhang Ming, pay my respects to the Holy Sun." Qin Zhouga turned leisurely, a serene smile gracing his countenance. "There is no need for such formalities, Zhang Dancher." Zhang Dancher responded with respect. "I have heard that the Holy Sun encountered an attack by demonic beasts in the Enmo Ridge and sustained some injuries, rivaling that of eminent predecessors. How could mere beasts compare?" Zhang Dancher replied. "However, I have also heard that the Holy Sun was besieged. Although you are destined for greatness and have emerged unscathed, some injuries are perhaps inevitable. You will understand shortly." Qin Zhouga replied, his gaze now utterly frigid, akin to 2 celestial swords unsheathed, coldly fixating on Master Zhang. "Allow me to inquire, you were sent here to probe my true condition." Elder Qin's expression fluctuated, yet he ultimately restrained his emotions, his countenance darkening. "Thank you for your understanding, Holy Sun." Qin Zhougao nodded slightly, offering an explanation. "A month prior, I had business at the Demon Ridge, embodying the essence of an earthly sovereign. However, as the Holy Son of Taishu Mountain, his status far surpassed that of any mortal king, wielding the power to alter the fate of nations with a mere word. Young master, the Dadui Dan you instructed me to procure has been retrieved." A dog stood before Qin Zhouga, presenting a jade box. As for the rare Tianling Guanyu, I have dispatched someone to investigate its whereabouts." "Very well." Qin Zhouga accepted the jade box, pausing momentarily. "Also, look into the whereabouts of Xiao Fan over the past 2 to 3 months and compile the information for me." With a shake of his head, he reflected on the bustling crowd outside his chamber that morning, which had made it impractical to speak freely. However, given a dog's unwavering loyalty, he felt no need to conceal the truth from him any longer. This was the Dadui Dan, specifically designed to eliminate various abnormal conditions, possessing tremendous efficacy. It was a spiritual-grade elixir, also known as a spiritual pill. Only masters of alchemy who had reached the secret realm of divine powers could concoct such spiritual pills, rendering them exceedingly precious even to ordinary cultivators at that level. Their mere appearance was enough to incite fierce conflict among scattered practitioners of the divine powers. Only Qin Zhouga, esteemed as the Holy Son of Taishu Mountain, could casually acquire such a treasure. I hope this Dadui Dan proves effective." Qin Zhouga consumed the pill, which dissolved instantly upon entering his mouth, transforming into a rich medicinal force that surged rapidly towards his dantian. However, upon contact with the mist, this medicinal power dissipated swiftly, vanishing completely in the blink of an eye. In contrast, the gray mist was barely purified by a minuscule fraction, akin to a few days of cleansing within his qi. Nothing is more significant than the matters of the young master. Thus, Ago announced the arrival of the messenger, who briefly relayed the message. Following the guidance of the envoy, Qin Zhouga and Ago proceeded to another imposing hall, inscribed with the words Tianwei Hall, Saint Sun, Your Highness the Saint Sun, we pay our respects to you. Before the Tianwei Hall lay a spacious plaza, where numerous disciples of Taishu Mountain had gathered. Upon sighting Qin Zhouga, Everyone bowed in deference, their faces alight with admiration. This was the holy son of Taishu Mountain, a figure of dominance among the younger generation of the eastern wilderness, except for a select few. None among his peers could rival him. Qin Zhougao offered a gentle smile as he ascended the hundreds of steps leading to the grand hall. Inside the hall, several powerful auras emanated, some wild, others gentle, some explosive like flames, and some tranquil like flowing water. The one shared trait among them was their formidable strength, potent enough to alter the very heavens and earth upon eruption. Zhougao has arrived. Come in. A calm voice resonated. Qin Zhougao entered the hall, while Ago remained outside, waiting. He was not truly one of Taishu Mountain's own. It would be more accurate to describe him as a member of the Qin clan. Among them stood Elder Chun, his gaze fixed in fury upon Qin Zhougao. Qin Zhougao paid no heed to Elder Chun, treating him as if he were invisible, and with a slight bow to the 8 heavenly elders, earnestly request the esteemed heavenly elders to pass judgment on Qin Zhougao's actions, to uphold justice. Chapter 6. You were unworthy. Upon hearing Elder Qin's words, Qin Zhougao scoffed inwardly, attempting to leverage his influence against me. Qin Zhougao, seemingly unperturbed, did not deny the accusation and nodded candidly. Setting aside some of Elder Qin's subjective opinions, the facts he presented are largely accurate. Qin Zhougao's lack of rebuttal astonished the heavenly elders. Zhougao, do you have nothing to defend yourself with? Before Qin Zhougao could respond, Elder Qin coldly interjected, esteemed heavenly elders, facts speak louder than words. This matter is something I witnessed firsthand, and Qin Zhougao has no means to refute it. He has shown disrespect to his elders and flouted the law. Such behavior cannot simply be overlooked. I implore the esteemed heavenly elders to see this clearly. With that, he bowed deeply to the heavenly elders. The several heavenly elders exchanged glances. After all, Qin Zhougao was the holy son. Even if he had truly killed 1 or 2 individuals, they might very well choose to turn a blind eye. An apology is in order, and one must accompany me to the law enforcement hall to receive punishment. Upon hearing this, several celestial elders furrowed their brows. For a figure as distinguished as the Holy Son, such a punishment would be excessively severe. The Holy Son, to a certain extent, embodies the dignity of Taishu Mountain, if word were to spread that the Holy Son was summoned to the law enforcement hall. Elder Qin's gaze shifted momentarily before he acquiesced. Since Elder Tian Song has spoken, I shall not object. Forcing Qin Zhougao to bow in apology was indeed his initial intent. He was not foolish enough to believe that leading Qin Zhougao to the law enforcement hall for punishment was feasible. His face turning ashen as he growled. Evidence. You claim the one who plotted against you was the alchemist. Where is the evidence? At the peak of Jiusu Mountain, I declared that I. And softly utters 2 words. Lightning comes. With a thunderous roar, the sound of thunder reverberates, and the void crackles with electricity. Clad in white garments as pure as snow, Qin Zhougao wields the divine thunder. Divine powers. A well-informed disciple squints slightly. Though powerful, ordinary practitioners of divine powers do not exhibit such overwhelming might. Indeed, another person nearby nods. Such a cataclysmic thunder is a phenomenon only achievable by one of our Taishu Mountain's renowned ultimate martial arts, the calamity-extinguishing thunder technique. One of the Taishu 7 techniques. The crowd gasps in astonishment. How could they not be aware of the Taishu 7 techniques? It is inconceivable for any martial artist with even a modicum of knowledge to have not heard of such a famed name. Could it be that His Highness has taken action himself? His Highness the Saint Sun. Upon hearing this, a brilliant light ignited in the eyes of all present. The identity of His Highness is of utmost nobility, and his martial talent is unparalleled, akin to a dragon amongst men. Merely witnessing him take action would surely stir their hearts. Yet, His Highness seldom intervenes lightly. What could have transpired? One inquired with curiosity. You are all in the dark, aren't you? Soon, a disciple, brimming with mischief and cleverness, known for being a notorious gossip among the lower-ranking disciples, proclaimed, Gossip, you say? Speak quickly. All attention was drawn to this gossip-monger, sensing the eager and curious gazes of the crowd. The esteemed elder of the Taishu Mountain, the formidable practitioner Chen Fei, has met his demise. Astonishing. An elder of the celestial rank sighed, his gaze towards Qin Zhougao growing increasingly tender in that moment. Qin Zhougao's stature in their hearts significantly ascended. This elevation would undoubtedly accumulate over time, proving immensely beneficial for Qin Zhougao's future leadership of Taishu Mountain, as the opinions of celestial elders hold considerable weight. The final remark he made was laden with profound meaning and jest, Elder Kuanghua laughed heartily, nodding in hearty agreement. Indeed, I have underestimated Joga. Elder Tiansong swiftly composed his facial expression, parting his lips as if to speak. What have I teed? My life's endeavors are beyond your scrutiny. His voice resonated with an expansive grandeur, akin to a celestial being surveying the mortal realm from the heavens, though his words were soft. Qin Joga had cast a veiled glance in his direction, imbued with profound significance. Having spoken, Qin Joga offered a slight bow to the celestial elders and took his leave as he gradually receded into the distance. Both hold exalted positions. Although there exists conflict, it is likely to be restrained, especially with the celestial elders present. Thus, the Holy Sun's emergence does not necessarily indicate a victory. Indeed, upon hearing this analysis, the previous conjectures were swiftly overturned. Towering several zhang in height, embodying the essence of the mystical beast known as Xuanwu. Beneath the imposing figure of Xuanwu, a man sat cross-legged, as immovable as a mountain, profound as the ocean that he appeared to be in his late 20s or early 30s. His visage radiating a robust masculinity, clad in a robe of true martial yin-yang, his eyes tightly shut, exuding an astonishing aura, albeit restrained. To slay Elder Chun in a single blow, he murmured, his eyes slowly opening. Sword in hand, embodying the essence of a divine blade, emanating a formidable sword intent that he too had received the news, remaining silent for an extended period. Eventually, an even more potent sword intent radiated from him, instilling great terror that he strode forward with great determination. Before reaching his destination, as the two arrived at a remote and desolate spot, Qin Jiogong suddenly halted, surveying the surroundings to ensure they were alone. Suddenly, a deep crimson flush surged across his face, and he violently expelled a mouthful of blood, his vitality waning in an instant. He staggered unsteadily, nearly collapsing, but Agu reacted swiftly, extending a hand to support him, preventing him from falling. My lord, what has happened to you? Agu exclaimed, alarmed. All is well, Agu responded, conjuring a sphere of black flame with a wave of his hand, incinerating the bloodstains without harming the surrounding flora. Reminiscent of celestial bodies in flux, I must swiftly seek the heavenly spirit warm jade. Until then, I shall avoid conflict whenever possible. Otherwise, the situation may become even more dire. 2 days later, Agu's voice echoed from outside the Nine-Void Palace. My lord. With that, he recounted the rumors surrounding Xiao Fan over the past few months in meticulous detail to Qin Jiogong. Qin Jiogao listened in silence, inwardly comparing the situation to the contents of his novel. Oh, Qin Jiogao exclaimed with delight. Obtaining the Tianling Nuanyu would resolve the hidden dangers within his body, making it an urgent matter. Otherwise, not only would he have to be wary of the destined one, Xiao Fan, but even in the Taisu Mountain, he would have to remain constantly vigilant and strategic. Go continued. We have received word that someone has discovered a Dilling Jade mine. At the Sunset Abyss. The Sunset Abyss? Qin Jiogao paused. Then a peculiar smile spread across his face. The Sunset Abyss was a renowned perilous site within the eastern wilderness in Qin Jiogao's narrative. The Sunset Abyss possessed a touch of myth. Qin Jiogao remained oblivious. However, now that he had traversed into this world, how could he possibly stand idly by and allow that Xiao Fan to succeed? Chapter 11. The Minor Exorcism, Sword.as he spoke. Yet, almost immediately, a chilling voice resounded eerily throughout the hall, like a specter. Are you certain? I am aware, as per our agreement, that you are to assist me thrice, and this is the first instance. Accompanied by a dozen others, both male and female, all around the age of 20, their faces illuminated with aspirations. Enough. The sovereigns are far removed from us. Let us instead focus on our cultivation with grounded determination. As they lowered their heads, they saw that what they held was a sword, its blade straight and exuding an aura of spiritual energy. With a surge of elemental force, a terrifying sword chi emerged, slicing through the air. This is the 18 minor demon-slaying swords, the stubbled youth exclaimed in astonishment. Among those present, he was the eldest, most knowledgeable, and the leader of this expedition, named Zhao Ming. You do possess some insight, especially upon seeing the corpses of the 5 pythons. Their gazes narrowed instinctively, sensing something amiss, but the allure of the Ningxian grass swiftly overshadowed their concerns. Wang Donghu, what are you planning? Zhao Ming scanned the group and recognized the leader among the Yuanchu disciples. Oh, it's senior brother Zhao. The disciple named Wang Donghu's expression shifted slightly. What are we planning? We naturally intend to harvest the Ningxian grass. He smirked coldly, and the other Yuanchu disciples echoed his disdainful laughter. Get lost, Zhao Ming bellowed furiously. The Ningxian grass was discovered by us from Taishu Mountain, and we have slain the guarding beasts. How dare you Yuanchu's sacred land attempt to lay claim to it? Wang Donghu let out a sinister chuckle, his demeanor brimming with arrogance. Brother Zhao, how naive you are. Heavenly treasures and earthly goods are meant for the virtuous. Now that you, Taimu Mountain, have lost your virtue. The other disciples of Taimu Mountain shared his indignation, casting furious glares at the disciples of Yuanchu across from them. In the martial world, the sense of belonging to one's sect is profoundly strong among practitioners. Wang Donghu retorted with a cold smile. Setting aside your injuries, our numbers far surpass yours. What can you possibly do about it? He laughed haughtily, completely dismissing Zhao Ming and the others. You? Zhao Ming was incensed. The overwhelming elemental force coalesced into a small storm, rampaging wildly and leaving Taimu Mountain-esque disciples in a precarious position, struggling to defend themselves. Ha! Wang Donghu laughed maniacally, his subordinates relentless in their assault. Qin Zhouge did not exhibit anger. Instead, he chuckled softly, casting an oddly amused glance at him. That gaze held a trace of derision, yet it was predominantly filled with pity, akin to a true dragon from the heavens looking down upon a frog at the bottom of a well. At last, he made his move. With a single step, he advanced as if he were an ordinary person, devoid of any worldly aura. However, in that fleeting moment, the expression of the Dantai sect changed dramatically. In his perception, as Qin Zhouge took that step, it felt as though the very heavens and earth shifted in unison, transforming into a celestial cage that descended to suppress him. The sensation was profoundly enigmatic yet palpably real, exerting a direct influence on his very soul, akin to a prickling sensation on his back, compelling him to instinctively refrain from resistance, as if any movement would invite a tempestuous onslaught. Ah! The Dantai sect roared. Step, step, step! The sword named Yuanling, a blade he had devoted his life to forging, was a medium-grade spiritual weapon, far surpassing the inferior-grade swords like the 18 minor demon-slaying swords in both might and rarity. The terrifying aura emanating from Qin Zhouge reached its zenith, akin to an unparalleled, razor-sharp sword poised above the Danai sect's head. He yearned to draw his sword, to unleash a ferocious strike, to defy the Saint's Sun. Yet, he was utterly incapable of doing so. An instinct, shrouded in the depths of his subconscious, warned him that once he made his move, he would be met with the last thunderous strike he would ever witness in his lifetime. This intuition was ineffable, yet it had repeatedly aided him in navigating perilous situations. Suddenly, Dan Taizong erupted with a geyser of blood, his complexion paling to a ghostly white. The look in his eyes as he gazed at Qin Zhouge was a tumultuous blend of fury and profound terror. All they perceived was his nonchalant strides, followed by Dan Taizong's inexplicable transformation, culminating in a violent expulsion of blood. Despite their confusion, one thing became painfully clear. Before Qin Zhouge, even the arrogant Dan Taizong dared not draw his sword. In other words, before Qin Zhouge, even the prodigious Dan Taizong found himself unable to unsheath his blade. This outcome was beyond the imagination of Zhao Ming and his companions, leaving them rooted in place. Qin Zhouge spoke, his tone casual. You claimed you would slay me. What of that now? With a splutter, Dan Taizong was once again forced to expel a mouthful of blood, staining his clothing a vivid crimson, a sight both shocking and disheartening. Brother Holy Son. They beheld the figure, standing like a deity among mortals. Zhao Ming and the others felt their hearts surge, a wave of fervor coursing through them, reaching for the heavens. This is the Holy Son of Taisu Mountain, who suppresses all adversaries of the younger generation, particularly among the female disciples. Their eyes sparkle, and their brows are filled with affection, as if they wish to etch that figure deeply into the recesses of their hearts. Qin Zhouge smiled gently, nodding at them, and then his gaze returned to the Dantai sect, becoming indifferent once more. You should consider yourself fortunate. Just moments ago, you claimed not to deceive the corporeal disciples of Taisu Mountain. And now, I too shall not deceive you, not to deceive me. The Dantai sect mulled over Qin Zhouge's words, a bitter smile creeping onto his face, feeling despondent. In his eyes, do I equate to those corporeal disciples of Taisu Mountain in my view? He realized he had never been regarded as a rival. Qin Zhouge, oblivious to his thoughts, continued. The 18 small exorcising magic swords were granted by me. Present them. The expression of the Dan-Tai sect turned exceedingly grim. His face pale, clearly still reeling from this heavy blow. After a moment, he took a deep breath and said mournfully, "Very well, I shall retrieve them." With that, he reached into his Chinquan ring and extracted the 18 small, exorcising magic swords. They were naturally reluctant to part with them. Now that they had been regained, everyone was filled with immense excitement, repeatedly expressing their gratitude to Qin-Jyoga. Qin-Jyoga observed this scene with a cold gaze and finally spoke, "Not enough." Yet, with a mere wave of his sleeve, he did not accept the spiritual weapon but instead redirected the blade, sending it straight into Zhao Ming's hands. "This blade is now yours, Saint Sun, but simply toss it to them." The Dan-Tai sect's pupils also contracted in surprise. "Saint Sun, this is unacceptable," Zhao Ming exclaimed in alarm. Having received the 18 small, exorcising magic swords, they were already filled with gratitude. Let alone this spiritual weapon. Qin-Jyoga's expression remained indifferent, as if the spiritual weapon were no more than a common cabbage. "If I bestow it upon you, it is yours," Senior brother At this moment, who had just jubilantly harvested the concentrating grass, their hearts alight with excitement. Yet, the appearance of Qin-Jyoga instantaneously dragged them from the heights of paradise into the depths of despair, especially at this moment. Despair was the only sentiment that filled their hearts. "Such is the might of the Holy Son of the Void," Qin-Jyoga spoke. "The concentrating grass. Yes, yes, we will hand it over immediately." Wang Donghu trembled, casting a glance at the Dan-Tai sect, yet the latter remained silent, seemingly oblivious. Wang Donghu understood and obediently retrieved the concentrating grass he possessed. The other disciples of the physical realm likewise dared not defy Qin-Jyoga. Bypassing the Dan-Tai sect. Ha. Wang Donghu, I told you the concentrating grass belongs to the Void Mountain. Do you believe it now? Zhao Ming and the others were elated, swiftly seizing the concentrating grass from the hands of the disciples of the Yuanchu sacred land. Under the apprehensive gazes of Wang Donghu and the others, Qin-Jyoga merely nodded lightly. "You are but disciples of the physical realm. I shall not make it difficult for you." Upon hearing this, at these words, many disciples of the Yuanchu sacred land were struck with astonishment, their furtive glances landing upon the leader, Wang Donghu. Qin-Jyoga, understanding their apprehension, gazed coldly at Wang Donghu. "As the Holy Son of the Void, I cannot tolerate any slander against my Void Mountain." The moment these words were uttered, the atmosphere became palpably tense. Wang Donghu trembled violently, a chilling dread coursing from his head to his toes, a clear indication of his extreme fury. Qin-Jyoga remained unfazed and softly inquired, "How do you wish to handle this matter? What do you think?" Dan Taizong replied, casting a glance at Qin-Jyoga. Qin-Jyoga merely chuckled lightly. "What do you propose?" He was not willing to relent. Dan Taizong's heart seethed with anger, yet the circumstances compelled even his pride to bow. "Qin-Jyoga, what do you desire?" "I demand an explanation. I shall offer you another inferior spiritual weapon as compensation for Wang Shidi's transgression." "What do you say?" Dan Taizong uttered these words, his heart bleeding. "Another inferior spiritual weapon." Zhao Ming and the others exchanged glances. Both Tai Su Mountain and the primordial Holy Land were esteemed in the eastern wilderness, and while their higher-ups appeared harmonious, the disciples privately harbored mutual disdain. "Whether it be for your esteemed faction or mine." "Very well." A fierce malevolence emerged in Dan Taizong's handsome features as he bellowed. "If Tai Su Mountain seeks an explanation, I shall provide one." A rising star, gazing upon that figure clad in white as snow, their hearts brimmed with yearning. Is this, indeed, our holy son of Tai Su Mountain? Meanwhile, the disciples of Yuan Chu's sacred land, in the realm of physical cultivation, wore expressions of trepidation, instinctively wiping the crimson blood from their faces, as an unsettling chill crept into their hearts. Qin-Jyoga remained composed, almost tranquil. Yet, this moment, this scene, and this person would forever cast a shadow over their lives. An indelible mark. Brother Dan Tai, endowed with a divine physique, has long since mastered arcane powers, soaring to great heights. Yet even he could not safeguard us. An icy despair enveloped their hearts. Nevertheless, within them, tumultuous waves surged, neither stirring a ripple within him. Indeed, Zhao Ming and the others finally grasped the situation, their eyes alight with fervor, responding with exuberance as they hurried to follow. Only the figures of Yuan Chu's sacred land, led by Dan Tai, remained, alongside the dissipating mist of blood left behind in the wake of their departure. Qin Jiu. Dan Tai suddenly called out, his voice laced with a chilling intensity. This matter shall not be settled lightly by Yuan Chu's sacred land. From afar, upon hearing these words, Qin Jiu merely shook his head in disregard. By the way, he suddenly turned, his gaze towards Dan Tai imbued with a strange mixture of curiosity and mockery. In the face of Yuan Chu's sacred land, Qin Jiu was undeniably formidable, yet he was gentle with his junior disciples, which emboldened them to express their sentiments openly. Very well, you may depart on your own. These little fellows are rather impressive. Gu's voice resonated as he led a group of blood Qin guards behind him. After casually uttering a remark, he couldn't help but scoff. That Dan Tai lad is truly laughable. Including the author himself, Qin Jiu. Though he seldom appeared in his own narrative, Qin Jiu distinctly recalled an instance in the later chapters when the Yuanchu saint's son confronted an established strongman who had reached the third realm of the divine passage. With a single palm, merely a single palm, he obliterated that third realm powerhouse. In terms of both talent and strength, the Yuanchu saint's son undoubtedly stands at the pinnacle, while the Dan Tai sect is formidable. To boldly declare a challenge against the Yuanchu saint's son, it only serves to invite ridicule. After all, he is the one I have chosen. Qin Jiu murmured softly. Chapter 18. Disturbing the earth beneath the Tai sway suddenly. The Yuan force was wildly coursing, and his blood was tumultuously churning. Clearly, he had sustained injuries once more. This was the very reason he had dismissed the blood Qin guards. They were orphans raised by his father, and his dantian was still shrouded in a gray mist, causing issues with his body. Previously, at Tai Su Mountain, he had forcefully acted, swiftly dispatching Elder Chun, but this had exacerbated his condition, making it unwise to engage in combat lightly. Thus, when facing the Dan Tai sect, though Qin Jiu appeared to exude an awe-inspiring aura, instilling fear in the Dan Tai sect to the point where they dared not even unsheathe their swords, he had already expended his utmost effort, which had led to instability in his injuries and turbulent blood flow. Had the Dan Tai sect's resolve been a touch firmer, and they had brazenly drawn their swords to battle him at that moment. Moreover, they are the outstanding talents of the younger generation from the two sacred lands, representing the face of their respective domains. He must take matters into his own hands, without delegating to the likes of a dog. Exchanging anxious glances until one disciple, summoning his courage, ventured to inquire, "Is this matter to be considered resolved?" "Absolutely not," Dan Tai sect declared with unwavering certainty. "But, humph, I know your intentions," Dan Tai sect interjected. He was not so simple-minded. A sheen of cold sweat forming on his back. "Humph," Dan Tai sect cast him a sidelong glance, his expression slightly easing. "You needn't flatter me. Defeat is defeat. Yet he, Qin Jiu, is not invincible. My sister is in the sunset abyss. And today's affair must be addressed with Qin Jiu. Dan Tai Shiji is also coming." Upon hearing this, all disciples of Yuanchu's sacred land erupted with expressions of delight, their joy unmistakable. "Humph." Dan Tai sect offered no further words. With a glimmer of sharpness occasionally flashing in his calm eyes that moment, a figure approached unsteadily from a distance, swaying and stumbling as if about to collapse at any moment, clad in blood-red robes. It was a blood Qin guard. However, this once fearsome figure was now in dire straits, or rather, in a very poor condition. It is the individual I dispatched to investigate the heavenly spirit Warm Jade. The guard's face was ashen, his body drenched in blood, particularly from a gaping wound in his chest, a grievous injury that had pierced through him, a fatal blow. Thud. Once a dog brought him closer. Despite bearing grave injuries and facing imminent death, he was acutely aware that he could not succumb, for his comrades had perished, and he must convey the message to the young master. Then, the vendetta would be avenged by the young master. Akin to a ferocious beast poised to strike, Qin Jiu's gaze gradually turned frigid, and he commanded, "Agu, grant them a proper burial." The them he referred to naturally included the other blood Qin guards dispatched. His overwhelming aura radiated ferocity, and as he locked eyes with the onlookers, they felt as if they were prey ensnared by a predator, chills running down their spines as they averted their gazes. "I've said too much," Agu remarked with a playful grin, yet that smile sent a chilling wave through the onlookers, plunging them into an icy abyss. "Captain," the two rows of Jin Yanwei cried out in disbelief. Their captain was at the pinnacle of the physical realm, even with one foot already in the domain of divine powers, an indomitable force in everyday encounters, without the invocation of divine powers. With a sinister grin, waved his hand and commanded, "Kill." Boom! With Ago's utterance, an overwhelming and oppressive aura surged forth instantaneously from the blood-sheen guards, a thick and pungent scent of blood enveloping the air like a torrential downpour. Silent and unseen, the blood-sheen guards advanced like a deep current beneath still waters, akin to phantoms seeking their prey, brandishing their slaughtering blades as they silently descended upon the golden flame guards before them. The most elite battalion of the Zhou family. Kill, kill, kill. In mere moments, the once formidable golden flame guards, once resembling fierce beasts of slaughter, were now akin to livestock awaiting the butcher's knife, utterly powerless against the rampant onslaught of the blood-sheen guards. Crimson blood gushed forth, staining the stately gates of the Zhou family a deep scarlet. No matter how they howled or retaliated, the outcome remained unchanged, faced with the seemingly divine blood-sheen guards. In the face of imminent death, even these habitual executioners faltered, revealing a vulnerability that belied their usual demeanor. Yet, the blood-sheen guards seemed oblivious to their pleas, remaining silent, save for the glint of derision that flickered in their cold gazes. Not a ripple stirred in the depths of his profound gaze. "Young master," Ago inquired softly. In the face of foes, he was a brutal, almost neurotic executioner, yet he remained fiercely loyal to Qin Jiogong and his father. Murmuring, "Continue the slaughter," he walked unhurriedly, as if strolling in a garden, through the Zhou family estate that struck terror into the hearts of countless individuals. After a brief pause, he carelessly remarked, "Kill until they obey." Such an aura plunged the onlookers into even deeper silence. Many instinctively subdued their breaths, fearing to disturb the serene countenance of the young man clad in white. All were aware that this young man in white was the one who had led the charge. Equally adorned with fiery carvings, flanked by 2 rows of high-backed chairs crafted from precious wood, emanating a subtle yet enchanting fragrance. "Have we, the Zhou family, been overly lenient in recent years?" mused a middle-aged man in splendid attire. His countenance shrouded in shadows. How audacious of someone to dare approach our doorstep. Seated in the chair to his left was a younger man, bearing a resemblance to him, albeit with a touch of youthfulness. A flicker of concern crossed his face. "Third brother, I feel a sense of unease. Just moments ago, a formidable being from the secret realm demanded the surrender of our heavenly spirit warm jade. And now, another force has arrived at our gates. Could there be a connection? If they possess a powerful entity, the situation could escalate beyond our control." In response, the middle-aged man in fine garments let out a cold laugh. "A mere powerful practitioner, humph. Let them come. They shall find no passage." Upon hearing this, the younger man's expression softened slightly, and he nodded slowly. "You make a valid point, third brother. Indeed, let us enjoy our tea in peace." By now, the Golden Flame Guard should have eradicated those intruders. Their laughter rang out. But at that moment, a hurried voice broke the tranquility of the hall. "Report that I regret to inform you, esteemed sirs, that the Golden Flame Guards have suffered total annihilation." The messenger's voice trembled, faltering as he spoke. "What?" Both men sprang to their feet, shock and fury etched across their faces. The gravity of the situation deepened with the man's report, and the atmosphere in the hall grew palpably tense. The individual could not help but swallow hard, steeling himself to report. "I respectfully inform both gentlemen, after the annihilation of the Golden Flame Guard, that relentless group has surged forth, cutting their way through. By the time I arrived to deliver this news, they have already breached the main hall, leaving a river of blood in their wake." What? At that moment, both men felt as though the world around them had darkened. The fourth, albeit barely maintaining a shred of composure, hastily urged, "We must inform elder brother. No, we shall go ourselves. Let us move." "Yes, notify the family head." The middle-aged man, now seemingly finding his resolve, regained his calm. Both were formidable warriors at the 9th level of the physical realm. And in that moment, they surged forward at full speed towards the depths of the Zhou estate. Meanwhile, Qin Jioga strolled leisurely, his pace unhurried. Within the heavily guarded Golden Flame Zhou family, his steps never faltered. Destined to serve as the protagonist's experience package, his objective was to shatter this narrative inertia. Even within the perilous confines of Taimu Mountain, the blood-sheen guards commanded fear, let alone in this remote location far from the epicenter of the martial world. An unfathomable terror, such that any ordinary individual present would be instantly crushed to pulp. Even those versed in martial arts found it exceedingly difficult to withstand. Thud, 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 like an overwhelming tide, none from the Zhou family could maintain their footing. Many from the Zhou family desperately channeled their inner energy, their bodies glowing, struggling to rise. Refused to submit. a young man, at the pinnacle of the physical realm, unleashed his energy to its utmost, his body trembling like an unyielding beast. Had he complied and knelt, it would have been a different story, but dressed in flowing white garments, he appeared both handsome and striking. However, to the members of the Zhou family, he was akin to the most terrifying of demons. Those who had dared to insult him met with no mercy. Silence. The once tumultuous crowd now found itself enveloped in an eerie stillness, all eyes drawn to the blossoming blood mist, both mesmerizing and horrifying in its beauty. Impudent wretch! At that moment, a roar akin to that of a raging lion echoed from the heavens. It was Zhou Ding, the head of the Zhou family. Yet, even he found himself in a precarious situation. Yet, before he could fully process his thoughts, the anguished cries of his kin below jolted him back to reality. In that instant, his eyes widened with fury. He longed to tear Qin Zhouge apart and cleanse the Zhou family's shame with his blood. What, then, distinguished him from an ordinary martial artist of the corporeal realm? Moreover, the patriarch of the Zhou family, who had always been perceived as an untouchable figure, was now prostrating before Qin Zhouge. What a magnificent spectacle it was! Their own kneeling might signify merely their individual shame. However, Zhou Ding's submission represented the entire Zhou family's capitulation, their shared glory sinking into the mire of disgrace. If moments ago they had felt frustration and anger, yet held on a hope, in this instant, that hope crumbled to dust. Patriarch. Many members of the Zhou family were already in tears. Yet, Qin Zhouge remained impassive, gazing down upon them as a deity surveying mere mortals. He softly addressed Zhou Ding. "Do you submit?" This utterance provoked a tempest among the Zhou family members. Countless eyes turned to Zhou Ding, their expressions aflame with emotion, voices rising in protest. Patriarch. No. A gentleman may be slain, but not insulted. Before they even arrived, their overwhelming vitality surged forth with a thunderous roar. Once again, two more formidable practitioners emerged. The figure clad in black was undoubtedly a powerful practitioner, and although the young man in white was shrouded in mystery, even if it bore no direct benefit, was ample material for boasting for a long time to come. That to say they had witnessed a battle of formidable practitioners with their own eyes was a tale worth sharing, causing the two men to falter. However, before they could fully comprehend the situation, Qin Zhouge smirked, saying, "I have awaited you for long." As his words fell, two Blood Qin guards stepped forward, flanking him on either side, positioning themselves before Elder Zhang and Elder Qin. Boom, boom. In an instant, two overwhelming auras erupted forth, the unique pressure of formidable practitioners enveloping the entire area, causing everyone's countenance to change dramatically. More formidable practitioners. In the Eastern Wilderness, a single formidable practitioner, serving as a guardian, signifies a power not to be underestimated, capable of suppressing nefarious forces. Yet in this moment, those two seemingly ordinary figures, mere attendants of the young man in white, were revealed to be formidable practitioners themselves. All present exchanged bewildered glances, rendered speechless by the shocking revelation. Formidable practitioners represent a life force entirely distinct from that of corporeal martial artists, holding an exalted status. How could they be mere attendants of that young man in white? This was utterly astonishing. Before they could ponder further, the battle had already ignited. However, the anticipated clash of titans did not materialize. Instead, the two Blood Qin guards moved in perfect synchrony. With a swift stroke of their blades, a crimson aura manifested in the air, countering the formidable force unleashed by their adversaries. Then, like a thunderbolt, Qin Zhouge smiled faintly, remaining silent. Nevertheless, whether it was the Zhou clan or the onlookers from Jinyan City, chaos erupted in an instant. Elder Chun, the Zhou clan members shouted, their cries echoing the earlier fervor. Yet the underlying meaning was worlds apart. Just moments ago, the arrival of two powerful beings had ignited hope among the Zhou clan, serving as a potent tonic for their despair. Yet, in but an instant, "Old fool, father, how have you emerged from seclusion?" Zhou Ding and the elder were both taken aback. The elder, nearing the end of his lifespan, had long since detached himself from worldly affairs, only occasionally wandering the realm. The elderly man chuckled softly, waving his hand dismissively. "Young master, you flatter me. I am but an old man, no match for the vigor of youth. All that remains is this meager insight." Qin Zhouge silently commended him. The elder was acutely aware that despite his status as a transcendent being, it was highly improbable that he would gain any advantage over the young master. "Although I am but an old man." The might of a supreme being was indeed formidable. Qin Zhouge and the Blood Qin Guard possessed formidable strength, and even among the Zhou family, 3 adept practitioners struggled to maintain their ground. However, the spectators found themselves ensnared in a calamity, countless individuals suffering burns, retreating in terror as they cast wary and reverent glances at the elder in the arena. "Dio toy with fire before me? What is this?" The elder's expression shifted slightly as he hoarsely remarked, fixating his gaze on the black flames surrounding a dog, a contemplative look dawning in his eyes. "Break." A dog sneered, uttering a single word. "A dog. I concede. It is a fair defeat," he chuckled softly, a hint of the poignant sorrow of a once great hero now in decline. "Old man, you recognize me?" A dog laughed maniacally, his words dripping with disdain. "I once caught a distant glimpse of your grandeur alongside a friend, and the impression of your demonic flame divine art remains vivid. It seems today I was blind to your true stature." Pausing for a moment, he turned toward Qin Zhouge, already suspecting the latter's identity, his heart heavy with bitterness that he spoke hoarsely. "May I ask the identity of this young master?" Qin Zhouge lowered his gaze and proclaimed in a resonant voice, "I am Qin Zhouge." That would undoubtedly be akin to a divine dragon soaring through the heavens. Yet now, he stands before them, leaving all in astonishment. To provoked the saint son of Tai Su. The Zhou family has indeed brought calamity upon themselves. Many lamented, and the consensus was unanimous. Upon learning of Qin Zhouge's true identity, the members of the Zhou family were utterly bereft of any intention to retaliate, their hearts heavy with despair, their gazes vacant. Tai Su Mountain, the saint son of Tai Su. How could our Zhou family have incurred the wrath of such a formidable adversary? Is fate conspiring against us? At this moment, kneeling before the white-clad youth seemed less unbearable. "I trust you are aware of the purpose of my visit?" "I am indeed aware." Zhou Jiangkuan sighed heavily, his murky gaze sweeping coldly over Zhou Ding and the others, a glint of coldness prompting them to bow their heads deeply. Zhou Jiangkuan continued with a wry smile. "I have already been informed by my subordinates. They, lacking the foresight to recognize your stature, have unfortunately clashed with the esteemed Blood Qin Guard. For before Qin Zhouge and a dog, they were but fish on the chopping block, despite their lofty status as formidable cultivators in the eyes of others. Even Zhou Jiangkuan, who had long lived with clarity, could not suppress the rapid beating of his heart, torn between conflicting thoughts. After a moment's pause, his already pallid face grew even more ashen, appearing several years older in an instant. With a long sigh, he admitted, "This old man understands." As he spoke, he finally made a decisive gesture, signaling the elder, "Go, bring forth the culprits who slaughtered the holy prince in the sunset abyss." Upon finishing, his body seemed to stoop even further, comprising a significant portion of their strength. Should anything happen to them, it would be akin to crippling the entire Zhou family. The wrinkles on Zhou Jiangkuan's face quivered slightly, and he then commanded sternly, "Go." "Understood," the elder replied helplessly, issuing orders to apprehend the individuals. Zhou Jiangkuan took a deep breath, striving to calm the tumult within, and addressed Qin Zhouge, "Your Highness, I hope this explanation meets your approval." Qin Zhouge regarded him with a smile that was neither fully sincere nor dismissive, lifting his teacup to take a delicate sip, remaining silent, which left Zhou Jiangkuan perplexed, inwardly sighing at the complexity of the situation. The Zhou family acted swiftly. Shortly after, a commotion arose outside the hall, as the elder had commanded the capture of all those present in the sunset abyss that day, bringing them to the square outside. "Your Highness, the Holy Prince, please observe." The elder respectfully saluted Qin Zhouge, his eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and indignation, his skin trembling slightly. "The culprits who killed the Blood Qin Guards, excluding the 24 slain by them, totaled 36 individuals, with the weakest at the 7th level of physical cultivation and the strongest at the peak. They have all been apprehended, awaiting your judgment, our Zhou family." Soon, a dog nodded at Qin Zhouge, indicating that everything was in order. "Excellent." Qin Zhouge's face finally broke into a faint smile, but his gaze swiftly turned cold. "Kill. The blood of the Blood Qin Guards must never be shed in vain." "Understood." A harmonious and unified response erupted with a thunderous resonance, as a surge of fervor coursed through the hearts of the Blood Qin Guards. Yet, within their eyes, an icy malevolence surged forth, as they gazed upon those subdued in the square. Their gazes were devoid of warmth, and in a sudden movement, their figures surged forth, blades rose and fell. "No. Please, don't." The pleading cries of the victims echoed desperately, Yet the Blood Qin guards appeared deaf to their entreaties. Soon, all 36 met untimely ends, without a single survivor. Your Highness, the Holy Sun, are you now satisfied? Zhou Jianquan inquired. Qin Zhouge, keenly perceptive, noticed a trace of resentment in the tone of Zhou Jianquan's words. Yet he feigned ignorance, nodding with an impassive demeanor. Very well. This matter shall be let go. A wave of relief washed over Zhou Jianquan's heart as he exhaled inwardly, given Qin Zhouge's stature. Although they ultimately overwhelmed that squad with sheer numbers, the surviving members had all become sacrifices. After such a steep price to obtain the coveted Tianling warm jade, now it seemed that Qin Zhouge and the air around them seemed to thicken, laden with an oppressive tension. Your Highness, please calm your anger. Zhou Jianquan felt a sudden pang in his heart, pausing in contemplation for a moment before finally gritting his teeth and retrieving a thumb-sized piece of pristine white jade from his bosom. It was none other than the coveted Heavenly Spirit warm jade. Qin Zhouge extended his hand to accept it, a flicker of joy crossing his visage, only to be replaced by a deeper frown as he spoke solemnly. Considering the Earth Spirit jade mine, the Heavenly Spirit warm jade it produces should be at least the size of a fist. For my injuries, this minuscule piece is utterly insufficient. I require more. I would never dare to deceive the Holy Sun. Our Zhou family's Heavenly Spirit warm jade indeed consists solely of this piece. Qin Zhouge nodded nonchalantly, prompting Zhou Jianquan to feel a momentary relief. Yet his gentle gaze bore an unsettling weight of judgment as he looked down upon the Zhou family. Zhou Jianquan, a wily old fox, was momentarily taken aback by Qin Zhouge's words, but his countenance quickly morphed into one of confusion. Even Zhou Jianquan, seasoned as he was, found himself drenched in cold sweat beneath Qin Zhouge's scrutinizing gaze. Ultimately, he could no longer endure the pressure. Gritting his teeth, he made a decision, with a bitter smile and a deep sigh. He bowed to Qin Zhouge. Indeed, your Highness possesses a piercing insight. I am in awe. Upon uttering these words, he underwent a fierce internal struggle. Although allegiance to Xiao Fan was sworn by his ancestors, centuries had passed, and few adhered to such ancient vows. His previous decision was influenced by ancestral teachings, yet more so, it represented a gamble by him and the Zhou family on Xiao Fan. After all, Xiao Fan was the protagonist, and persuading him to relinquish anything in his possession would prove more challenging than slaying him outright. Yet, he outwardly maintained his composure. Where are they to convene? This, Zhou Jianquan hesitated slightly. Although he had clarified their relationship with Xiao Fan, internally, he still wished for Xiao Fan to remain unharmed. Qin Zhouge's gaze turned frosty. Zhou Jianquan trembled, suddenly grasping the reality of the situation. His starry eyes growing increasingly icy, his expression devoid of emotion as he regarded Zhou Jianquan and the others. After a pause, he spoke slowly. There is one matter I neglected to mention. His frigid gaze swept over Zhou Jianquan and the others, a subtle smirk gracing his handsome face, before continuing. I harbor a great enmity with Xiao Fan. That it is a matter of to the death. Boom! These words fell like a heavy hammer, striking deeply at the hearts of Zhou Jianquan and his companions, causing their hearts to instinctively skip a beat, their thoughts tumultuous and filled with dread. Yet, despite Xiao Fan's current inferiority to the individuals before them, Zhou Jianquan understood better than anyone that Xiao Fan was no ordinary adversary. In a clash between two tigers, one must inevitably perish. Since he did not underestimate Xiao Fan, placing him in the category of life and death adversaries, and knowing the Zhou family's connection to Xiao Fan, it was clear that given Qin Zhouge's assertive nature, his expression indifferent, akin to a deity surveying mere mortals. Chapter 28. Mercy of the Holy Sun. Heh. A sinister smile crept across Ago's face, his mad dog-like gaze sweeping over the four members of the Zhou family. How laughable, how tragic. You are all far too arrogant. Zhou Jianquan chastised them telepathically, his tone weary. Until you step beyond this golden flame city, how would you ever comprehend the vastness of the eastern wilderness, the might of the sacred grounds, and the reverence of the Holy Sun, to say nothing of the fact that the Holy Son of the Void, without lifting a finger, could simply utter a command that would obliterate my Zhou family. At these words, Zhou Ding and the others fell into a heavy silence. Qin Zhouge remained silent, calmly observing the group. He was well aware that they were exchanging thoughts, yet he paid them no mind. His beastly eyes glinting with ferocity. Those who stand against the Holy Sun shall be ruthlessly exterminated. Such is the rule. The rule. Zhou Jianquan forced a smile tinged with sorrow. Indeed, the oft-quoted adage of the XX continent. Then it is a fight to the death that you compel my Zhou family to undertake. With that, he slightly hunched his body, but in an instant, he straightened up, an overwhelming surge of battle intent erupting from him. A synchronized array of battle blades was drawn, their edges pointed towards the heavens. This was the iron blood guard of the Qin family, exuding an overwhelming killing intent, rendering even the Zhou family members, all powerful beings in their own right, unable to suppress their inner tremors. Kill. Under the influence of the murderous aura, the Zhou family's grand elder was the first to succumb, unleashing a roar as he merged with his sword. Their faces a canvas of shock. They could hardly fathom that the one who intervened to stop the elder of the Zhou family was Zhou Jiangquan himself. Even Ago's expression revealed a hint of frustration. If my Zhou family fails to recognize the gravity of the situation, do you intend to annihilate my entire clan? Indeed, Qin Jiogong affirmed with a nod, watching him with keen interest. Then what if my Zhou family acknowledges the seriousness of the matter? Despite his youth, he assessed the elder from a lofty perspective. Had it been anyone else, they would have surely been ridiculed. Yet coming from Qin Jiogong, it seemed entirely reasonable. The Holy Sun flatters me. Zhou Jiangquan's previously despondent eyes suddenly ignited with a flicker of hope. Those of collateral bloodline shall not be killed. Weak women shall not be killed. Direct bloodline under the age of 16 shall not be killed. Qin Jiogong stated softly. The first two declarations elicited little reaction from Zhou Jiangquan, but the final proclamation caused his breath to quicken. In old age, nothing is more cherished than the continuation of one's family line. The Jinyan family held their bloodline in the highest regard. Since Qin Jiogong had vowed to spare the young of the Zhou family, their lineage was not yet doomed, although life would become arduous without their protection. Zhou Jiangquan ventured cautiously. Qin Jiogong's expression remained serene as he replied coolly, I am the holy son of the Taishu. With such formidable strength and terrifying talent, what did he have to fear? His words were devoid of any pretense. Instead, they resonated with genuine gratitude. It may seem absurd, yet the reality was as such, while Qin Jiogong aimed to eliminate the elite of the Zhou family. The Chun offering let out a furious roar, his figure suddenly flickering, and by the time he reappeared, he was already outside the main door. When a formidable being resolves to flee, their speed is nothing short of astonishing. Yet, would he truly escape? Qin Jiogong remained silent, seemingly oblivious, his eyelids not even lifting, as if indifferent to the Chun offering's attempt at escape. How could such fortuity exist in this world? Zhou Jiangquan felt a bitter smile tugging at his lips. With this realization, Zhou Jiangquan moved swiftly, targeting the Chun offering. The latter was merely at the initial stage of the shackles, barely achieving the status of a formidable being, undoubtedly the weakest among them. While Zhou Jiangquan had already reached the pinnacle of existence, the disparity between them was insurmountable. Moments later, bang, a broken figure came crashing down from outside the door, landing at Qin Jiogong's feet like a lifeless dog. Spewing blood, struggling for breath, who else could it be but the Qin offering? Zhou Jiangquan's face momentarily reflected a hint of compassion, but it quickly vanished as he clasped his hands to Qin Jiogong, regarding the elder before him with keen interest. Indeed, he was an intriguing figure that he mused inwardly. Truly, whether in the realm of reality or in this fantastical world, it is no wonder that power is so intoxicating. Thus, to quell his wrath, this elder would not hesitate to personally slay his own offering. Absurd, yet entirely reasonable. However, in this fantastical world I have crafted, the essence of power lies in strength, he thought, fully aware of this reality. Upon hearing Qin Jiogong's words, Zhou Jiangquan offered a bitter smile, and a sacred aura surged upon his already aged visage. For the family. With that said, he seemed to have made up his mind. And his defeat could hardly be deemed unjust. Your Highness the Holy Sun. This is. Zhou Jiangquan's expression was laden with sorrow as he spoke gravely. The first. Qin Jiogao remained silent, offering a non-committal nod. To join me and my son in offering our apologies to the Holy Sun. Those under the age of 16 shall discreetly exit the city through the underground passages and remain in hiding. Forbidden from manifesting their powers, all others are to be dismissed. Henceforth, the Zhou family is disbanded. Any who dare to defy this order shall be met with death. No exceptions. Zhou Ding trembled at his father's words. Zhou Jiangquan's commands were executed with meticulous precision, as this once mighty family that ruled over Golden Flame City now descended into chaos and disorder towards its inevitable decline. At a.s. time slipped by unnoticed. You, esteemed elder, have 3 remarkable individuals in your lineage. It is merely unfortunate that fortune has not favored you." Upon hearing this, Zhou Jianquan forced a bitter smile. "Before your highness, the Holy Sun, who can truly claim the title of talent?" Taking a while to compose himself, his murky eyes glimmered with a hint of clarity as he nodded gravely. In that instant, a palpable aura of foreboding surged through the atmosphere. Zhou Jianquan, whose slightly stooped figure now stood upright, his eyes indifferent, resembling a deity surveying the mortal realm. In the square outside the reception hall, the corpses of those who had perished alongside the blood-sheen guards still lay, the earth stained crimson, exuding an aura of impending doom. The square, spanning nearly an acre, was now densely packed with people, all gazing on with a mix of bewilderment and unease. Zhou Jianquan signaled to Zhou Ding and the family elder, who understood and dispersed to stand at opposite corners of the square, their penetrating gazes fixed upon the crowd, expressions exceedingly complex. Zhou Jianquan slowly stepped forth, addressing the gathered members of the Zhou family. He gradually bowed deeply, proclaiming, "Esteemed guests, I am Zhou Jianquan, and I owe you all an apology." Upon witnessing this, the crowd erupted in confusion. "Old Patriarch, please don't." "Indeed, Old Patriarch, what is the purpose of gathering us here?" "Old Patriarch, is it that insufferable Holy Sun? Damn, with your command, even if he is the Holy Sun, I would dare to slay him." "Yes, Old Patriarch, whoever you wish us to kill, we shall kill, whatever you command." Standing still like a mountain, a tear slipped down Zhou Jianquan's cheek as he spoke solemnly. "Esteemed guests, I have gathered you here today, hoping that you will join me in death." At these words, the hall fell silent. After a moment, the crowd seemed to finally grasp the gravity of the situation, erupting in chaos. Many disregarded status and rank, vociferously cursing. "Zhou Jianquan, have you lost your senses? Zhou Jianquan, if you wish to be a dog for others, seeking glory at the expense of our clan, that is your affair, but do not drag us into your folly. Begone." Suddenly, those who had been shouting were violently thrown back. "I will only explain this once." He proceeded to detail the intricate ties between the Jin Yin Shou family, Xiao Fan, and Qin Zhougong, recounting everything to the members of the Zhou family. Most listened with indifference, their reactions far from sympathetic, and they began to shout in protest. Zhou Jianquan's countenance turned icy. "This matter is my fault. Thus it is imperative for me to elucidate the situation to all present. However, regardless of the circumstances, for the sake of our clan, each one of us here, including myself and my sons, faces but one inevitable fate: death. Damn it, brothers and sisters, the Zhou family has gone mad." And just as quickly did it vanish. Within mere moments, the inferno dissipated, leaving no trace behind, along with nearly 100 who had sought refuge. In an instant, the previously bustling square fell into disarray. Proclaiming loudly, the fate of those who flee in the face of danger is evident to all. Ultimately, it leads to death. Might as well devote ourselves to the virtue of our Zhou family's future generations and plead for the forgiveness of His Highness. "The Holy Sun, third brother, fourth brother," he called out, and two middle-aged men in resplendent attire stepped forward with wry smiles. Those who had previously appeared carefree when Qin Zhoga had approached. These two were Zhou Jianquan's sons, the third and fourth of the Zhou family, with 4 sons in total. Aside from these two, there were Zhou Ding and the clan's elder, making Zhou Jianquan and his progeny the unequivocal core of the Golden Flame Zhou family. The earlier scene had struck them like a dagger, piercing deeply into their hearts, causing them to tremble uncontrollably. Indeed, even the biological son of the old patriarch, along with the third and fourth masters of the family, devoid of any emotion. "Devil, you shall face retribution." Suddenly, a bearded man stepped forward, pointing at Qin Zhoga and unleashing a torrent of curses, before brazenly striking his own crown with a palm, crying out, "For the family. Good and evil will be repaid. Devil, your arrogance cannot last long. Devil, I shall await you below. You, wicked soul, deserve to descend to the 18th layer of hell. Qin Zhoga, I curse you to die without a place for burial." Aside from the curses directed at Qin Zhoga, there was the synchronized declaration, "For the family." A resounding proclamation. The number of Zhou family members dwindled, with Zhou Jianquan already weeping profusely, while Zhou Ding and the elder of the Zhou family had tears glistening in their eyes. There was no greater sorrow in life than this. "It is my turn." He smiled sorrowfully, trembling as he looked toward Qin Zhoga. "Your Highness, after my demise, I hope you will not forget your promise. I trust it does not dishonor you, esteemed elder Do, Feishin Wine." Zhou Jianquan's heart stirred. The immortal tower of the divine city was reputed as the foremost establishment in the eastern wilderness, frequented by none other than the most illustrious figures. Many practitioners confined by shackles cannot afford it, and even the esteemed helmsman of the Zhou family, a formidable being, finds it an extravagant indulgence. Upon this reflection, Zhou Jiangquan let out a hearty laugh. Ha ha. Who would have thought that in my twilight years, I could savor such divine liquor? I shall not die in vain. Not in vain indeed. Ha ha ha. Qin Jioga smiled serenely. This jar of Facian wine may accompany you. Devoted his existence to his family, fully deserving of respect, he offered a jar to Zhou Jiangquan, breaking the clay seal with a flourish and proclaiming, to the esteemed elder's glorious voyage. Excellent. Ha ha. Zhou Jiangquan laughed heartily, tilting his head back to drink deeply, akin to a whale engulfing the sea. Although advanced in years, he retained a spirited exuberance. Crash, crash. 2 empty jars were violently hurled to the ground, shattering into countless fragments. What fine wine, Zhou Jiangquan exclaimed, throwing his head back in a long howl before collapsing in a resounding thud. Chapter 31. The Child of Destiny at the Edge of the Sunset Abyss. Before a humble thatched cottage sat a young man in his early 20s, his appearance unremarkable, yet possessing resolute eyes, exuding an air of confident determination. Surrounding him were fierce flames, morphing into the ethereal images of 9 dragons and 9 phoenixes, creating a rather formidable spectacle. Master, all is now in readiness. We merely await the eastern wind. The youth spoke suddenly, addressing an unseen presence. Once the Zhou family delivers the heavenly spirit-warmed jade, my preparations shall be complete. Indeed, the great sun-burning heaven flame is one of the 10 supreme fires in the world. Though it ranks only 7th, it is sufficient to empower your ascent against the heavens. An aged voice resonated from nowhere, with no figure in sight, save for a peculiar flash of red light emanating from an ancient ring on the youth's finger. Upon hearing this, the youth's eyes sparkled with brilliance. Once I refined the great sun-burning heaven flame. Xiao Fan. At that moment, Xiao Fan's expression shifted slightly. Someone approaches. Dare I inquire if this is Master Xiao Fan? I am a member of the Jinyan Shou family, sent by the family head on an errand. Xiao Fan remains remarkably amiable, unlike Qin Jioga, who exudes an air of a high and mighty antagonist. After all, as the protagonist, he must embody positive energy. Without such, how could he demonstrate his prowess and turn the tables? The middle-aged man from the Zhou family, taken aback by Xiao Fan's demeanor, quickly replied, Master Xiao is too courteous indeed. After exchanging pleasantries, the middle-aged man retrieved a jade box from his Qinquan ring and presented it to Xiao Fan. Master Xiao, when the time comes to refine the Dao fire, it will aid me in assimilating the fire poison and the foreign energies within the Dao fire, significantly enhancing the success rate of my refinement. Otherwise, even with my cultivation of the fire attribute technique, the great Dao incineration scripture, and with my teacher's assistance, attempting to refine the Dao fire would be akin to an insurmountable challenge. But now, shrouded in mystery, what manner of man is he, indeed? And they would happily join the protagonist's harem. A venerable voice echoed in his heart. The golden flame Zhou family has been annihilated. Xiao Fan's heart trembled. To think that now, the Zhou family had been destroyed, if not for the secret method he employed to establish contact with Zhou Jiangquan and Zhou Ding, he would still be oblivious to their demise. It was undoubtedly directed at me. As the protagonist, it is an inescapable truth that I am subject to ridicule wherever I go. Upon sensing something amiss, Xiao Fan's immediate reaction was that it was aimed at him. Puzzled, it was only then that Xiao Fan regained his composure, gazing at the middle-aged man before him, his heart wavering. If they are indeed targeting me, and possess the capability to easily annihilate the Zhou family, then my presence here is certainly no secret to them. They may even be on their way. At that moment, even if I were to escape, my adversary would undoubtedly glean a wealth of information about me from the individual before them. Clad in white, Qin Jioga appeared as a demon casually traversing through the inferno. Just as the members of the Zhou family had described, he cast a lingering gaze upon Zhou Jiangquan's lifeless body. A formidable aura radiated from the vessel, suppressing the breath of many blood Qin guards. This was a mid-grade spiritual weapon, the Tiansua warship. Its speed surpassed that of beings at the pinnacle of human realms, nearing the 3rd great level of the divine realm, and it was inscribed with countless offensive and defensive formations, rendering it a mobile palace and a floating fortress of war. Its value was astronomically high. It worked. At that moment, a flicker of excitement stirred within his heart. The gray mist beyond the sea of Qi quivered gently, as a wisp of it seemed to respond to his call. Qin Jioga was overjoyed. Although it was merely a slender wisp, it was but a drop in the vast ocean compared to the gray mist in his dantian. yet it signified that this path bore fruit. With the primordial energy flowing gently, finally transforming back into a pool of living water. Above the golden sea of chi, the gray mist still permeated, isolating it, yet it had notably thinned compared to before. Only to suffer a fierce backlash. Now it seemed that he could barely muster 2 attacks, granting him a measure of self-protection. Qin mused, regrettably noting that the Tianling warm jade was too minuscule. Otherwise, that piece in Xiao Fan's possession was a must-have, he declared gravely, his deep starry eyes radiating with intense brilliance, shimmering with fervor. Young master, we have arrived. Suddenly, a Go's voice echoed from outside the training chamber. There is no one here, only a corpse. Qin nodded slowly, his expression calm, having anticipated this outcome. As the protagonist, if he could be so easily cornered, he would have perished countless times already. He took measured steps towards the lifeless body. After all, it was he who had orchestrated it. Amused by this thought, Qin couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. The wonders of the golden finger are beyond mere imagination. He then smiled and said, I have always said that Xiao Fan is no ordinary person. My lord, I understand now. A Go replied solemnly, no longer daring to underestimate Xiao Fan. There were aspects of Xiao Fan that eluded his comprehension. In response to a Go's reaction, Qin chose not to reveal anything further, bypassing the corpse and making his way towards the nearby thatched cottage, boldly pushing open the door without concern for any hidden traps. The cottage was modest, measuring merely about 10 feet square, with minimal furnishings, a bed, a square table, and a wooden chair. Qin smiled slightly. This simplicity aligned well with the persona of a protagonist from a story of underdogs. As he stepped inside and surveyed the surroundings, he noticed a sheet of white paper spread out upon the table, upon which was inscribed a bold and vigorous line, regardless of who you are. Chapter 33. A mere source of amusement in the city of setting sun. When one gazes upon the eastern wilderness, setting sun abyss stands as one of the most formidable locations. Certainly, the aforementioned figures do not imply that the sunset abyss is perilous. Do not disgrace yourself, his companion swallowed hard, pointing at the blood-red banner fluttering in the wind. It is the Qin family, from Mount Tai Su. Upon hearing this, the expression of the previously despised person changed dramatically. This clearly illustrated Mount Tai Su's standing within the eastern wilds. Naturally, while the Yuan Shu sacred land, Huangquan sacred sect, and other forces may not boast heights, each possesses its own unique merits. As mentioned by Go. Elder Lu, Qin Ji's thoughts raced, yet his actions remained unaffected. He slightly returned the salute. There is no need for such formalities. Elder Lu, previously, the Tizat warship, under a Go's control, had traveled with unrestrained audacity, attracting the attention of half the city of Sunset. Out of curiosity, countless onlookers were now fixated on this scene, speculating which formidable figure from the Qin family of Mount Tai Su was aboard the warship. Eagerly anticipating a spectacle, now found their faces flushed with embarrassment as they realized their folly. They had been poised to watch the sacred ground confront the other party, unaware that the very son of the sacred land was aboard the warship. That is all that matters to me, Elder Lu remarked, demonstrating his understanding by refraining from further intrusion, preparing to take his leave. Please, Elder Lu, stay a moment. Qin suddenly called out to him. If one were to note an anomaly, it would be the recent stirrings of the beasts deep within the abyss. Their roars echo for miles, with many high-ranking beasts straying from their territories and wreaking havoc in the surrounding regions, consuming it without a modicum of decorum. This act propelled Xiao Fan to the pinnacle of physical cultivation, significantly enhancing his corporeal form, laying a solid foundation for the refinement of the great sun-burning heaven flame. Correct? Qin nodded, for a Go was always reliable in his duties. Convey my orders. Instruct them to hasten to Sunset City at once. The current state of Sunset Abyss poses far too great a danger for them, with many lauding her as the most beautiful woman of the region. Beyond her breathtaking beauty, Dan Taixian was renowned for her extraordinary talent and unparalleled combat prowess. Although she was a woman, Qin himself, thus, as fellow prodigies of the sacred land, Qin and Dan Taixian were naturally well acquainted. As the author, Qin possessed even deeper insights into Dan Taixian than his predecessor, leading to a remarkable turnaround. The conclusion is predictable. The protagonist embarks on a new cycle of displays of grandeur. Notably, within the context of Qin tale, The pivotal moment that compels the heroine Dan Tai-Xian to develop feelings for the protagonist Xiao Fan is indeed that explosive and grandiose confrontation, the 3-year agreement. Inform me immediately. Indeed, Agu replied in a low tone. Furthermore, Qin Zhougao pondered for a moment before continuing. Do not be overly deliberate, as it may inadvertently alarm the other party, which would be rather unbecoming. Agu, equally puzzled, recalled that Dan Tai-Xian was the eldest sister of the Dan Tai clan, while Qin Zhougao had recently inflicted a significant loss upon them, given the latter's arrogance and pride. And arrange for our meeting there. Such an arrangement would render it difficult for anyone to find fault. Although he held no fear, Qin Zhougao preferred to avoid unwarranted criticism. Agu accepted the command and departed, and she donned a resplendent yellow palace gown, exuding a dignified elegance intertwined with a subtle hint of nobility. Particularly captivating were her pair of eyes, akin to a tranquil autumn lake, gentle, serene, and inviting. In comparison to the enchanting figure before him, Li Yinro seemed utterly unremarkable that in terms of beauty and the aura she emanated, there was simply no contest. Truly, she was the heroine, Qin Zhougao mused to himself. Acknowledging their long separation since their last meeting, there is no need for such formalities, junior sister Dan Tai. Qin Zhougao replied with a gentle smile. Though dazzled by her beauty, he maintained an air of composure. But rather a high-powered antagonist. Moreover, he was the very author of this narrative world. As the saying goes, a beautiful face can hide a skull, yet in Qin Zhougao's eyes, the alluring maiden before him hardly amounted to even that. Its refreshing aroma wafting through the air. After the three took their seats and exchanged pleasantries, the conversation flowed smoothly, facilitated by their mutual intent to maintain a cordial atmosphere, ensuring that both host and guests were thoroughly pleased. Furthermore, Dan Tai-Xian's genuine interest in Xiao Fan had only arisen after a 3-year agreement, following a series of events that had humiliated him. Nevertheless, it was difficult to ascertain, since he had crossed over. The very fabric of this world must have been disturbed to some degree. It could not possibly adhere strictly to the plot line. Perhaps they had known each other long before, or even secretly pledged their lives to one another. I have made considerable progress and have come to seek your counsel. Seeking a confrontation, a flicker of intrigue ignited within Qin Zhougao, and a slight smirk graced his lips as he regarded the fervently combative Dan Tai-Zong before him. Swords drawn and ready for conflict. Huff, huff. Dan Tai-Zong's breath became heavy, beads of sweat forming on his brow. The last encounter could hardly be deemed a battle, as he had been unable to draw his sword. He still stepped forward to challenge him, primarily to dispel this mental burden. Yet, in this moment, the cheerful gaze of Qin Zhougao weighed upon him like Mount Tai, nearly suffocating him with pressure. He felt an undeniable conviction that the person before him was an insurmountable, ancient, divine mountain. How could this be? Dan Tai-Zong's heart roared. Qin Zhougao, I am a natural divine body, no less than any other. How could I possibly be inferior to you? Meanwhile, Qin Zhougao remained serene, composed in his seat, no longer stubborn in light of her words, and he acquiesced. Yet, he still bore a look of apprehension as he cast a lingering glance at Qin Zhougao, feigning indignation as he coldly huffed. Humph. Unworthy of her regard. However, Dan Tai-Xian, who had been enigmatic thus far, earned Qin Zhougao's esteem, truly deserving of her role as the heroine in the narrative. After intervening on behalf of Dan Tai-Zong, and my younger brother is surely no match for you. Yet, I would like to request a few pointers from you, Qin Shixiao. I trust it would not embarrass you and would certainly add to the merriment. Dan Tai-Xian's words, though seemingly calm and reasonable, concealed a subtle strength. Should Qin Zhougao decline her invitation, it would imply that he deemed engaging with her beneath his dignity. Realizing this, Qin Zhougao cast a penetrating glance at Dan Tai-Xian. Her bright eyes narrowed as she stared intently into Qin Zhougao's, as if trying to penetrate his very soul. For a moment, neither spoke, their unwavering gazes locked in a tense standoff, the atmosphere around them growing increasingly oppressive. After a long pause, Qin Zhougao suddenly chuckled. He smiled. The atmosphere in the arena thawed like spring snow, instantly becoming more relaxed. However, with the drop of his next words, tension surged once more. It delineated not only victory and defeat, but also life and death. As he spoke, his handsome face reverted to a semblance of a smile, rich with profound meaning, fixating on the exquisite visage of Dan Tai-Xian. Upon hearing this, Dan Tai-Xian paused, her expression gradually becoming solemn, her face as still as water, Her gentle, water-like eyes now harbored an incisive edge, fixated firmly on Qin Zhuogao. Yi Jinwu had mentioned a problem with her physical condition. His demeanor calm and composed. The faintest trace of a smile danced on his handsome face, as if he were looking down from a lofty height, mocking Dan Aixian. After a long moment, Dan Aixian sighed inwardly. He quickly reacted, his entire being engulfed in an unmatched, raging black flame. Darting forward in a blink, his fist enveloped in terrifying fire, smashing forth with a thunderous strike. Die. Chapter 37. Three Supreme Beings. The wild fist struck without embellishment against the sharp sword tip, his blade slicing through the air, carving a precise trench into the ground. This strike was meant to eliminate Qin Zhuogao once and for all. This time, I shall see who comes to your rescue. Uttering once more, "Ago, hey." Ago grinned menacingly, his fist crashing down with unyielding force, while his other hand swiftly formed a seal, conjuring a ferocious black primordial energy that coalesced into a colossal fire serpent. Roaring as it surged past Qin Zhuogao, aiming to devour the blinding blade of light. As a peer among the masters, he dared to challenge two foes alone. Foolish, the two masked figures exchanged glances of fury and astonishment. Engulfing everything in the arena, a tidal wave of primordial energy suppressing all, culminating in a cataclysmic explosion. The lake water recoiled, flowers withered, and the rampant primordial energy ravaged the surroundings, reducing the entire garden to rubble in a single collision. Yet at the epicenter of the explosion, Ago stood resolute, defying the onslaught of two formidable masters, forcing them to retreat instead. Meanwhile, their intended target, Qin Zhuogao, remained proudly upright amidst the chaos, his white garments untouched by dirt. As a fearsome battle erupted, all of this transpired in the blink of an eye. The clash of masters was as swift as lightning. Protect His Excellency, the bloodbound Qin guards under Qin Zhuogao finally reacted. Arrived among the Blood Qin guards, their formidable divine powers imposing an overwhelming pressure. Kill. Upon witnessing this, the Blood Qin guards remained unfazed, although they were merely at the 9th level of physical strength. However, Qin Zhuogong had brought only 4 squads of Blood Qin guards this time. Though they managed to hold their ground, they were entirely intercepted by the divine beings before them, leaving no room to attend to Qin Zhuogong. Followed by a shadow erupting from the darkness, a dense force of essence hurtling towards her like a torrent. Dan Taixian was, astonishingly, also a target. Simultaneously, several other divine beings soared into the sky, detaining all her subordinates. And with Dan Taizong's assistance, their collision forced the ambushing transcendent back. Dan Taixian's demeanor remained composed. Having struck successfully, she swiftly unleashed another palm strike, appearing gentle, yet overwhelmingly forceful. The heavens and earth surged with spiritual energy as the siblings joined forces, instantly engaging the transcendent being in a fierce clash. However, this also meant that the individuals from Yuan Chu sacred ground were equally restrained. Witnessing Dan Taixian's combat prowess, Qin Zhuogong felt astonished. The difference between transcendent beings and those bound by shackles was indeed monumental. Yet Dan Taixian could contend with the opponents so fiercely. Although aided by Dan Taizong, her brilliance was undeniable. Qin Zhuogong's expression remained calm. Despite being the prime target of the enemy, he appeared utterly detached from the chaos around him. A myriad of ideas flickering swiftly in his mind point 3 transcendent beings and over 10 shackled individuals. This was undeniably a formidable force. Qin Zhuogong mused inwardly. However, to think they wished to ambush me. They might be underestimating me. He lifted his eyelids slightly, casting an unintentional glance at the formidable Dan Taixian, who was engaged in a fierce battle against a supreme being without losing ground. A peculiar smile crept across his face as he murmured to himself, "So, what other killing moves do you have? Unleash them." Chapter 38. Twilight of the Gods. No sooner had he spoken than a chilling sensation enveloped him. "You must surely make your move, right?" However, Qin Zhuogong's reaction left them all disheartened. His handsome visage bore neither the expression of frantic anger nor the slightest inclination to retaliate. Eye in the face of the domineering sword. Lethal strike. Even the 4th master, who had shocked the entire assembly, was but a decoy. Such a display of prowess was truly astonishing. Yet, when confronted with this inevitable, earth-shattering blow, Qin Zhuogong's reaction once again surpassed all expectations. He appeared utterly indifferent to the impending strike, slowly turning around to present his back to the approaching master. flicking his fingers to effortlessly send 2 healing pills into the mouths of the 2 grievously injured bloodsheen guards. Resembling countless demons rising and falling, each flicker of flame morphing into a shadowy fire serpent, infinitely eerie. In the blink of an eye, the endless dark fire serpents began to devour one another, coalescing into 5 gigantic, frenzied pythons that, as if imbued with sentience, radiated an aura of extreme malevolence, hurtling towards the 5 masters. Impossible. The 5 masters, their expressions drastically altered in an instant. Each sensed a lethal aura emanating from the evil, giant pythons before them. Splurt, splurt. The simultaneous sound of blood spitting echoed as Agu's assault directly wounded all 5 masters. Naturally, Agu himself was not unscathed. His face turned as pale as a sheet. Yoga flicked his fingers, sending a mid-grade healing elixir into his mouth to help him recover. Retreat. At this point, the 5 masters realized the futility of the situation and decisively ordered a retreat. Being shackled experts, their reactions were incredibly swift. However, just then, a voice, gentle yet authoritative, resonated, a calm tone that clearly penetrated the ears of the fleeing assassins. Since you have arrived, do not depart. Qin Zhougao's gaze was as frigid as ice, with a sudden sweep of his hand. An invisible, profound wave rising abruptly into the sky, enveloping the entire arena. The swift figures, akin to flowing light, abruptly froze, struggling desperately within the void as if ensnared in a quagmire, barely able to maintain their forms. With his inner energy barely manageable, only able to maintain a feeble control over the gravity domain. Now, despite his injuries not being fully healed, he was undeniably in a far superior state compared to before. No, I am a master of divine powers, destined to soar to the heavens. I have torn apart the shackles of my own corporeal form. How could mere formations restrain me? The assassins of the shackled realm roared in unison. Perhaps, she murmured softly, lost in her thoughts. They asked for the blood-sheen guards, a band of valiant men. Their eyes were filled with fervor as they looked upon Qin Zhouguao. Such is their young master. Stirring a surge of fervor among these stone-hearted executioners. What more could one desire than to serve such a master? Unbeknownst to him were the thoughts of his companions, nor was it necessary for him to be aware. With his long, fair fingers, he deftly plucked, unleashing waves of intangible energy that shot forth like the strings of a musical instrument, striking with uncanny precision at the incapacitated shackled assassin sprawled on the ground. Qin Zhouguang remarked with a detached calm. Regrettably, the shackled assassin would never hear those words. Unbeknownst to anyone, a rare flicker of emotion stirred deep within the profound eyes of Dantai Xian, witnessing this scene. Wearing bitter smiles, there are still 5. Ignoring the reactions of others, Qin Zhouguang lifted his gaze towards the 5 remaining supreme masters still lingering in the void. Flee, 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 despite their unparalleled strength. Regarded as true masters across the eastern wilderness, they were utterly paralyzed by fear. They had believed that even if this assassination attempt failed, they could retreat unscathed. Yet, in the blink of an eye, the shackled ones had been wiped out before their eyes. Whose words carry the weight of 9 tripods, would become a laughingstock should his declarations yield no results. Qin Zhouga, will you truly find yourself capsized in this endeavor, perhaps sensing her unspoken thoughts? Perilously close to the 4 array pearl pillars, moreover, with the pillars stationed at each corner, even as the 5 eminent beings scattered, each direction brought them near to a pillared a mid-grade array disc. Yet, against all odds, they had managed to salvage their lives. What audacity! Dantai Xian regarded Qin Zhouga, silently acknowledging his fortitude. Yet ultimately, 2 had escaped. Qin Zhouga, will your promises now falter? However, contrary to her expectations of seeing Qin Zhouga's complexion pale, and she was genuinely astonished. To self-destruct a mid-grade spiritual formation was one thing, but now, was he about to detonate a mid-grade spiritual weapon as well? Dantai Xian mused that if it were her. Yet they managed to flee. Dantai Xian mused inwardly, a hint of a playful smirk gracing her exquisite features. Qin Zhouguang, it seems luck is not on your side that a prodigy of the Yuanshu sacred land. However, despite her meticulous calculations, she had not anticipated that in the face of life and death, they would surpass their limits, unleashing a power far exceeding their current capabilities, and at the cost of 1 arm. One had miraculously escaped. That it could be said that this was not a fault of the battle. If blame were to be assigned, it might only rest on the unfortunate luck of Qin Zhouguang. It did nothing to diminish the terror that was Qin Zhouguang. Dantai Xian pondered that had she, or the esteemed Yi Jinwu of Taisu Mountain, or even the holy son of Yuanshu. Dan Taixian's delicate brows furrowed. The world brightened, a burst of fire erupting instantaneously. Compared to the previous two explosions, this one was undoubtedly much weaker in intensity. Yet, that flame emanated from the chest of the fleeing individual. Boom! In an instant, everything seemed to revert to tranquility. In the Garden of Listening. Situated to the north of Sunset City, a long street stretches southward, already teeming with people. The sound of raindrops pattering resonates. Blood and morsels of flesh. A shrill scream pierced the heavens as the young girl, stricken with terror, turned pale and fainted to the ground. Suddenly, it seemed as if a rain of blood poured from the void above, evoking the eerie sensation of stepping into the depths of hell. Gag, gag. Even those accustomed to dancing on the edge of the blade, the martial artists, found themselves ill-prepared for such a horrifying spectacle. He had met a gruesome fate, his very being shattered. The crowd exchanged bewildered glances, none comprehending the situation, for they were merely martial artists of the corporeal realm, their vision limited, unable to fathom the truth. At these words, realization dawned on the crowd, only to be swiftly replaced by even greater astonishment. Faced with two supreme beings, the holy son of Taishu still possessed the strength to spare. They exchanged glances, her smooth forehead subtly wrinkling. Her gaze towards Qin Yoga became increasingly solemn, even tinged with a hint of wariness. How could he have deceived even me? Her heart fluttered lightly, though much of it stemmed from her distraction. And I feel quite ashamed. Although she expressed her embarrassment, her lovely face bore no trace of guilt. Such platitudes, when necessary, were effortlessly exchanged by both her and Qin Jiugao, and none would take them to heart. Agu scoffed, deeming it a gross underestimation of others. Upon hearing this, Qin Jiuge not only refrained from laughter, but also adopted a more solemn expression. No, you are mistaken. Their assault is not an attempt at assassination. Such is the nature of prodigies, whose prowess in both combat and other realms far surpasses that of ordinary individuals. Sister, I must admit, there is something I do not comprehend, Dan Taizong remarked. When you initially proposed this assassination plan, I have never harbored any illusions of killing him. Dan Taizong was about to inquire further when Dan Aixian interrupted. Enough, you may leave now. I wish to cultivate, watching Dan Taizong's retreating figure. Yet the essence of those capabilities remained elusive. Of course, this in itself serves as a signal, but who can guarantee that this is not yet another trap set by Qin Yoga in today's encounter? All in all, she had still lost half a piece. At Sunset Tower, Qin Yoga sat cross-legged on the star observation platform, the brilliant starlight cascading upon him, enveloping him in a celestial glow, while his eyes sparkled more brightly than the cold stars above. Flickering with uncertainty. Agu. Qin Yoga suddenly spoke. What is your perspective on today's events? More importantly, Dan Aixian exerted herself laboriously, only to find her efforts in vain, effectively losing both her lady and her soldiers. Inviting her to the Sunset Tower, I have urgent matters to discuss, Qin Yoga replied, as the night breeze tousled his hair, revealing a countenance tinged with coldness. Chapter 42. Under the seat of the Holy Son of Taishu. After a moment, the two Dantai siblings set off, accompanied by their guards, marching towards the Sunset Tower in a grand procession. At the Sunset Tower, Qin Yoga sat in the foremost position, with a Go and the elder Lu, a master of the Jiren realm, standing before him, flanked by a group of Blood Qin guards, the atmosphere thick with a sense of impending danger. Young master, we have received word that they are already en route, a Go reported respectfully. Qin Yoga nodded casually and smiled at Elder Lu beside a Go. Thank you for your assistance, Elder Lu. Elder Lu immediately clasped his hands in a gesture of respect. You are too kind. Today, when Qin Yoga sought him out for assistance, it presented an opportunity to align himself with the Qin family's chariot of war. With this thought, a flame of ambition ignited brightly in Elder Lu's eyes. Qin Yoga smiled. A Go will lead the operation, so off you go. Yes, everyone responded in unison, their murderous intent palpable. Convey my orders, conceal your identities, a Go declared loudly, raising his hand to don a black veil. Leaving only his eyes visible, the others followed suit, including Elder Lu. However, despite their masked faces, the distinctive crimson garb of the Blood Qin guards remained unaltered, radiating a fierce aura that could not be concealed. Hence, anyone could recognize their origins. The veiling was merely a farce. The only visible eyes of a Go sparkled with excitement as he confirmed one last time. Young master, are you truly certain we need not change our robes? or conceal our powers. Do you truly believe that I, Qin Yoga, am easy to deceive? Although I emerged victorious in the end from the game you orchestrated, the sensation of being ensnared by your schemes that I is quite unpleasant. A grand procession advanced through the street. The passers-by, upon sighting them from afar, had already made a wide berth, their gazes filled with reverence and admiration as they fell upon Dantai Xian and the Dantai clan. Especially Dantai Xian, renowned as the most beautiful woman of the eastern wilderness, exuded an astonishing charm with every move, wielding a captivating allure. She was a member of the Yuan-Chu sacred land. Her autumn-like eyes spoke volumes. The title of the most beautiful woman of the eastern wilderness was indeed well-deserved. Many were left speechless, yet they understood all too well the vast disparity between the two parties. A familiar low growl echoed through the AI. No sooner had the sound faded than over 20 figures erupted from the shadows on either side of the street, their formidable presence radiating a terrifying aura that sent chills down the spines of those present. In the blink of an eye, those silhouettes had already descended upon the vicinity of the Yuan-Chu sacred land, moving silently but lethally, striking down anyone they encountered like a crimson tempest sweeping away all in its path. He hastily drew his sword, and with the assistance of the mid-grade spiritual weapon, the Yuanling divine sword, he barely managed to block it, a trace of blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. Yet his distinctive black garb unmistakably revealed his identity. The Danai fairy dot was once again under siege. Such an abrupt scene sent shockwaves through the ranks of wandering martial artists on the bustling streets. Just the day prior, Qin Yoga and Dantai Xian had encountered an assassination attempt in the listening garden, and by the time the residents of Sunset City discovered it, it was nearly over, leaving a profound impression of Qin Yoga's overwhelming prowess. But today, this sudden attack erupted in broad daylight. Even more shocking, it must be noted that the Dantai fairy was a prodigy of the sacred land. This blood-red robe seems familiar, as if I have seen it somewhere before. Yes, indeed, I share that sentiment. The attention of the crowd shifted instantaneously. After a moment, a young man appeared incredulous, drawing a sharp breath. That is, the Bloodsheen Guard under the auspices of the Taishu Saint. Chapter 43. Manipulating the rules, unbridled and reckless. Yes, absolutely, it is the Bloodsheen Guard. I saw them just yesterday in the listening garden. In that moment, everyone's imaginations ran wild. Hush! At that juncture, a composed elder raised his index finger to his lips, signaling for silence. The rest were momentarily taken aback, but soon realized that matters concerning the holy son of Taishu and the fairy Dantai of the Yuan-Chu sacred land were not to be trifled with. Claiming a life with every few breaths, blood splattered, lives withered. Miss, save me. Young master, the subordinates of Dantai Xian, having lost all courage, despite their meager strength, found themselves pleading for aid from the Dantai siblings, whose duty it was to protect them. The Dantai clan seethed with rage, their sinister eyes ablaze with a crimson hue, having never suffered such a significant setback in public. Even Dantai Xian's charming visage had lost its gentleness, her expression as cold as water. The loss of a few attendants was trivial, yet in the eyes of the world, what they truly lost was their pride, especially given the blatant nature of their adversaries' disguise. Lacking the necessary trials of experience, as a person in a position of power, he could not even perceive such fundamental truths. She shook her head discreetly and responded through thought. Remember this. We must maintain a facade of harmony, you understand. Just like yesterday, when Qin Zhogao was fully aware that the assassin was dispatched by me, he chose to remain silent about it. Thus, today, even if his intent to publicly humiliate us is as clear as day, treading the fine line of propriety with reckless abandon, how dare he? Even with Dantai Xian's typically calm demeanor, she felt a surge of shock within her heart. Hearing her words, Dantai Zong remained unable to contain his fury. Even from hundreds of feet away, one could distinguish an And's movements clearly, let alone the likes of Qin Zhogao and Dantai Xian, both youthful sovereigns, their Ji unexpectedly, the indifference from mere moments ago transformed. Chapter 44. To drink and sing. What is life? From the peculiar smile gracing Qin Zhoga's lips, Dantai Xian discerned much. Today, Qin Zhoga was issuing a warning to Dantai Xian in a manner so fierce. What you dare to do? Ha ha! Agu cackled, exuding a reckless madness as he waved his hand and commanded. Withdraw. With a rustling sound, a cohort of masked assassins, who could at best be labeled as such, appeared and vanished just as quickly. She wholly adjusted herself, regaining her gentle and serene demeanor. A smile blossomed upon her face, reminiscent of a garden in full bloom. Let us go. Senior brother Qin must be waiting anxiously. With that, on this day, the Bloodsheen Guard under the auspices of the Holy Son of the Taisu, assassinated the fairy Dantai in the city of Sunset, slaughtering 28 men of the Yuanqiu, many of whom bore stains of crimson upon their garments, making their already red robes appear even more menacing, an aura of dread palpable in the air. Sister, Qin Zhoga is demonstrating his might. Observing this, the once fuming Dantai Zong found his fury rekindled, burning even hotter. Dispatching the Blood Qin Guard to assassinate the siblings and massacre their attendants was one thing, but now Qin Zhoga had the audacity to bring these bloodied individuals to welcome them. Yet her resolute heart remained unshaken, and in the blink of an eye, she regained her composure. She conveyed a message to Dantai Zong, her tone calm. I understand. However, sister, in a fit of anxiety, Dantai Zong received a piercing glance from the other party. Dantai Xian and her companion complied and took their seats, while Qin Zhogong casually settled into the main position. That I witnessed what transpired earlier. Are you both unharmed, junior sister Dantai? Qin Zhogong inquired softly, as if nothing had happened. Upon hearing this, Dantai Zong's eyes were nearly ablaze with fury, his entire aura fluctuating wildly, wishing nothing more than to crush Qin Zhogong underfoot. Dantai Xian couldn't help but smirk inwardly, though her expression remained composed. Thanks to senior brother Qin, both my younger brother and I are quite well. That is a relief. Qin Zhogong seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, though he lamented the fate of the loyal guards. As he spoke, he appeared to exhale lightly. Huff. At this, Dantai Zong's fury was further stoked, his lungs nearly bursting with rage, his breaths growing heavy, and even Dantai Xian's expression darkened a shade. Qin Zhogong was truly a master of bringing up the most sensitive topics. Dantai Xian's expression grew increasingly somber, her gaze sharp as a blade, fixating on Qin Zhogong. She was acutely aware that Qin Zhogong's words were merely a reminder. The game was initiated by you. You personally pinned an invitation for my younger brother and me to come here today. May I inquire as to the pressing matter at hand? Her words clearly indicated that she had lost patience for any further games with Qin Zhogong. Qin Zhoga remarked, placing the jars upon the 8 immortals' table, that he had forgotten to offer a taste to his esteemed junior sisters, Dantai Xian and her brother, during their gathering yesterday. And thus he had come to rectify this oversight today. With that, he pushed 2 jars of wine towards the siblings and gestured grandly, please. Dantai Zong's face twitched with indignation, seething with rage as he slammed his hand on the table. What need have they for such wine? Today, Qin Zhoga went to great lengths to invite them here, only to present a mere jar of wine. This is nothing but an insult. However, in the face of Dantai Zong's fury, feeling as though he was being toyed with by Qin Zhoga, with his proud nature, how could he endure such humiliation? He slammed the 8 immortals' table, preparing to rise abruptly. At that moment, a delicate, exuding a sense of boldness akin to that of a hero. Thank you, brother, for the wine. With that, she tilted her head back and drank heartily. Qin Zhoga chuckled lightly, joining her in the revelry. The Azure Demon Jiao on that day, following the news of Qin Zhoga's underlings targeting Dantai Xianzi, further rumors spread from the Sunset City that it was reported that after a gathering between Dantai Xian, her brother, and Qin Zhoga at the Sunset Tower, Dantai Xian appeared unperturbed, yet Dantai Zong was in a furious rage, even drawing his sword to cleave a street in twain. This revelation sent shockwaves throughout the realm. Beneath the statue, a robust man donned in the yin-yang Jinwu robe sat cross-legged, impervious to all evils. His deep-set eyes seemed to harbor collapsing stars, lost in thought. It appears that Dantai Xian's expedition has not yet yielded success. Qin Zhoga, his expression was one of defiance. After the battle at Shuilong Lake, I have acquired yet another reason to slay you. Since that day, Qin Zhoga had not stepped foot outside the Sunset Tower. Meticulously filtered and subsequently reported to him by a Go. For several consecutive days, Dantai Xian, much like him, had also kept a low profile, leaving those who monitored them empty-handed. However, the situation in the Sunset Abyss grew increasingly tumultuous. Continuous roars of beasts echoed, as relentless waves of monstrous attacks surged forth, seemingly driven mad, resulting in heavy casualties among the adventurers within the abyss. Countless lives were lost daily to the beast's kiss. Upon hearing this news, Qin Zhoga fell into deep contemplation. Has Zhao Ming and his fellow disciples made contact yet? Qin Zhoga inquired, holding these younger disciples in high regard, as he had embarked on this venture under the pretense of leading them. Should Zhao Ming and his companions encounter any misfortune, the pressure on Qin Zhoga within Taishu Mountain would be substantial. Although he harbored no fear, it was prudent to avoid unnecessary troubles. They have made contact. Alongside the clandestine alliance between him and Xiao Fan, in the 3-year pact with Xiao Fan, as well as the intricate dynamics between the male and female protagonists. All these events, when woven together, might perhaps elucidate the actions of Dantai Xian. How intriguing. Qin chuckled softly, then closed his eyes, succumbing to contemplation. The sun set and rose again, and before long, another day had passed on this day. Rapidly drawing near, this force was akin to the devouring of heaven and earth, brimming with boundless ferocity and wrath. He rose to his feet, ascending the stargazing platform, his gaze fixed on the horizon. His expression grave. A resounding roar, unparalleled in its dominance, reverberated through the heavens and the earth, echoing throughout every nook and cranny of Sunset City, leaving all who heard it in a state of sonic turmoil. Instantly, the already crowded Sunset Pavilion descended into chaos, resembling a swarm of headless flies in disarray. Upon hearing that roar, Elder Lu, who guarded Sunset Pavilion, felt a chill run down his spine, as if confronted by a formidable adversary. The more powerful one was, the more palpable the terror of that roar became, sending shivers through him. Holy Sun! Elder Lu hastily ascended to the uppermost floor, and after receiving acknowledgement, approached Qin with palpable anxiety. Despite being his senior in both cultivation and status, the overwhelming aura left him in a state of disarray, while Qin remained unperturbed. Such was the disparity. He had heard tales of a certain elder within the Holy Land who openly challenged the Holy Sun. With menacing white bone spines protruding from its back, and its dark golden eyes exuded an icy malevolence. Fixating on the inhabitants of Sunset City below, the terrifying malevolence had solidified into a tangible form, morphing into ominous clouds that concealed half of its gigantic form. Undoubtedly, the fearful force Qin had sensed emanated from this very beast, a formidable creature of the demon clan, the Qin. Gazing at the fearsome beast hovering in the void, Qin spoke slowly, his eyes narrowing slightly, lost in contemplation. Chapter 46. Though tens of thousands stand against me, I shall press on. Qin. Upon encountering this behemoth before him, Elder Lu's heart quaked anew. The Azure Demon Jiao was well aware of its dominion. It was the true sovereign of the entire sunken sunset abyss. What manner of creature was this? Not a flying beast, yet capable of soaring through the skies. It must have reached the divine passage realm. A chill coursed through me. What an overwhelming pressure. Surpassing even the strength of the last human expert who had confronted the holy son of Taishu. Stammering, a demon clan, a formidable being, the Azure Demon Jiao. Upon hearing this, the expressions of those present morphed drastically, as if the sky itself had fallen. Foolish humans, who dares to steal my offspring? Step forward and face me. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed through the void, laced with a boundless killing intent. I grant you 10 breaths of time. Once the time is up, I shall slaughter this city to vent my wrath. Flee. Quickly flee. Damn it. Who is so audacious as to embroil us in this? If I discover who it is, I shall grind them to dust. Who did this? Step forward. In an instant, the entirety of Sunset City plunged into chaos. Qin stood resolutely on the stargazing platform, observing the panicked populace below with an indifferent gaze. Upon hearing the commotion, Qin cast a deep glance at the Azure Demon Jiao, lost in thought. Such a horrifying spectacle sent waves of terror rippling through the warriors of the city, with some fainting outright from fear. Enraged, the Azure Demon Jiao let out a furious roar and descended directly from the void. Ah, my life is forfeit. Save me. Despairing wails resound endlessly, the sky awash with crimson blood. This moment, the entirety of Sunset City resembles the most fearsome hell on earth, littered with corpses. Qin stands proudly atop the stargazing platform. Upon hearing this, Qin expression remains unchanged as he calmly instructs, disperse and search for them. Ascertain their location swiftly. Yes, the Blood Qin guards, who had gathered behind him awaiting orders, responded in unison, scattering across the stargazing platform. Over there, he points towards the eastern direction, where Zhao Ming and the other disciples of Taisu Mountain are struggling to support each other as they make their way towards Sunset Tower. The two factions, already at odds, are unexpectedly colliding amidst their flight for survival. Lost dogs. Upon meeting, a disciple from the Yuan Chu sacred land mocks them, and in this life and death moment, both sides discard their reservations. Elder Lu's countenance shifted drastically, exclaiming, "Holy Sun, retreat at once." The Azure Demon Serpent is advancing towards the Sunset Tower, and in its current state of madness, it is uncertain whether it will spare the likes of Taishu Mountain. He heard Qin calm and composed voice, causing him to momentarily freeze. Once he regained his senses, his expression shifted dramatically, a blend of fear, astonishment, and reverence washing over him, as he stared blankly into the void before him. There, Qin stepped forth, seemingly strolling leisurely, yet moving with an astonishing swiftness akin to a bolt of white lightning, boldly confronting the Azure Demon Serpent with unparalleled confidence and grandeur. though a myriad may stand against me. Could the holy son of Taishu truly be a madman? Some murmured to themselves. Roar. Die, wretched creature. The azure demon serpent bellowed, its terrifying murderous intent sweeping across the land, impossible to cleanse, with a single swipe of its claw. Closing their eyes in anticipation of death, yet they found themselves waiting in vain for the giant claws of the azure demon serpent to descend. Instead, a long howl pierced the air, followed by a familiar voice. Calm yet infused with an undeniable authority. Could it be? A sudden thrill shot through their hearts, an absurd thought flickered and was swiftly dismissed, only to resurface uncontrollably as they slowly opened their eyes. The instant Change Yoga appeared, the frenzied azure demon serpent instinctively halted, lowering its massive claws, returning to a semblance of normalcy, its dark golden pupils reflecting a newfound gravity. In terms of strength, this young human appeared to be merely at the shackled realm. Its bell-like pupils narrowed, the dense clouds of malevolence swirling around it, and it spoke in a low voice. Human race's holy son, do you intend to obstruct me? In response, Change Yoga offered a faint smile and shook his head. You jest. And as the holy son, I must take them with me. It would not bode well for the sect otherwise, and I hope the esteemed elder can understand. His words, a blend of gentleness and firmness, resonated in the face of the overwhelming presence of the demon race's formidable being. Had it been anyone else, their legs would have quaked in fear, yet he spoke with confidence, stirring the hearts of countless onlookers. The pupils of the azure demon serpent narrowed further, reflecting a chilling light. What if I say I do not understand? As he spoke, his gaze fell entirely upon Change Yoga, the icy stare palpable and oppressive. In fact, wore a faint smile, as if utterly unaffected. This revelation sent a chill through him. It was only then that Change Yoga finally spoke, a smile dancing on his lips as he regarded the Qingma Jiao. I trust that you will understand. Qingma Jiao intoned, his frigid gaze fixating on the remaining disciples of Yuanchu Holy Land, a torrent of malevolence surging forth. I intend to slay these individuals. Surely, you will not attempt to stop me again? As he anticipated, Change Yoga merely smiled faintly, gesturing with an outstretched hand. A low growl echoed through the air. In the blink of an eye, a presence that had once lingered in the distance now emerged from the void. The spiritual energy of the heavens and earth began to stir, coalescing into a vortex of spiritual essence that enveloped him, as if a deity had descended upon the realm. The visitor was none other than the rising star of the Yuanchu Holy Land. Their cheers abruptly ceased. All felt a sudden darkness envelop the world, and in the next instant they were left in utter oblivion. In the distance, countless onlookers watched this scene unfold, perceiving every detail without missing a beat. Advancing him further within the ranks of the youthful sovereigns, however, to the astonishment of all, the Qingma Jiao seemed entirely unfazed, paying no heed to Dan Aizong's words. Without the slightest pause, its colossal claws came crashing down, akin to a millennium of frozen ice, piercingly cold as they fixated upon the formidable demon creature. Yuanchu sacred land, a naturally divine body. No wonder, the dark golden eyes of the Qingma Jiao revealed a glimmer of understanding. And today it intended to unleash a massacre. However, upon hearing this, the Dantai sect remained resolute, blocking its path, exuding a magnificent aura, as if the spiritual energies of the entire realm were responding to his command. Growling like a wild beast, I, of the Dantai sect, vow to heaven and earth that in the future, when I achieve greatness, I shall ascend to the azure skies and descend to the underworld. I will surely slay you. Obscuring all vision, such a spectacle was truly terrifying. Nonetheless, as Dan Aizong had asserted, even he stood there. The Qingma Jiao dared not kill. Ha ha ha. Dan Aizong laughed boisterously with increasing delight. Yet, in the blink of an eye, the exuberance on his handsome face abruptly froze, his eyes widening in disbelief as he attempted to turn his head, but with the slightest movement, blood gushed forth from his neck, and then his head and body slowly parted ways. The figure clad in white smiled coldly, whispering softly, "He does not dare to kill. I do." Thud. Dan Aizong's body toppled slowly like a mountain crumbling, his eyes wide open, still reflecting an incredulous expression, as though nothing had transpired. All of this was concealed by the ominous clouds surrounding the Qingma Jiao, rendering it invisible to all. Only the Qingma Jiao witnessed it. Change Yoga's movements were akin to lightning. With not a hint of warning, he had already slain Dan Aizong. The dense, malevolent clouds gradually dissipated, finally revealing the scene below. The Qingma Jiao roared in a frenzy, while Change Yoga stood with his hands clasped behind his back. In light of these events, nearly everyone's first reaction was to attribute the act to the Qingma Jiao. As fellow prodigies of the sacred land, they understood the unspoken rules of their echelon. The son of the void would never dare commit such a grave offense. Reflecting on Dan Aizong's previous arrogance and bravado, Many could not help but twitch their lips in a peculiar manner. Growling, "Since I have already provoked the Yuan-Chu sacred land, what does it matter if I also take down Taisu Mountain? At this point, I might as well kill you as well." With that, it let out a furious roar, its killing intent soaring to the heavens. It struck out with a paw, terrifying primal energy coalescing upon its claws, emanating a shocking and dreadful aura. Yet, Qin-Jyoga remained unfazed. Prompting it to halt its actions, It stared intently at Qin-Jyoga and growled in a low voice. "What more is there to discuss? Do you think you can persuade the Yuan-Chu sacred land to cease its pursuit of me?" Ultimately managing to suppress its murderous rage. In exchange, Qin-Jyoga continued, "I can provide you with information. Regarding the enemies of your offspring." Boom. As soon as Qin-Jyoga's words echoed, the atmosphere in the arena erupted with a resounding tremor. Inciting the envy of the heavens, leaving behind even a trace of its lineage was no simple task. After much difficulty in begetting offspring, and with the child yet to be born, the prospect of having it stolen and devoured was an unbearable affront. It was indeed the Azure Demon Dragon's doing. Not only had it slain the Dantai sect, but it had also obliterated the remains. In the distance, all eyes were fixated upon this scene, their hearts stirred with shock. It must be noted that this time, there was no ominous cloud to obscure the truth, thereby solidifying the Azure Demon Dragon's culpability and erasing the last vestiges of doubt surrounding Qin-Jyoga. "Now can we speak?" the Azure Demon Dragon growled. "Certainly," Qin-Jyoga replied with unwavering resolve. The name of the perpetrator. Is Xiao Fan. Chapter 50. Indeed, this is a divine being. Ever since he had heard of the unusual movements of the creatures in the Sunset Abyss, Qin-Jyoga had been devising a plan to utilize the blade of the demon lord before him to eliminate Xiao Fan. As for the slaughter of the Dantai sect, that had been a spur-of-the-moment decision. It could be said that this maneuver achieved 3 objectives with a single stroke. Having said this, Qin-Jyoga turned his attention away, his demeanor calm and collected as he gestured nonchalantly, with a swift motion. "Oh, a bountiful harvest," he murmured, a satisfied expression gracing his features. After all, as a prodigy of the Yuan-Chu sacred land, the wealth amassed was substantial, far surpassing that of an ordinary shackled realm cultivator, and even rivaling those of the transcendent realm. Making them exceptionally rare. It is worth noting that the few esteemed individuals dispatched by Dantai Xian to hunt down Qin-Jyoga barely possessed a single low-grade spiritual weapon. His gaze was fixed upon a page of golden parchment within the Qinkuan ring, pulsating with a rich wave of yuan power that sent a thrill through his heart. His eyes brightened. The patriarch of the Dantai sect, sensing the extraordinary sword intent that annihilated all in its path within the spirit-sealed page, Qin-Jyoga pondered thoughtfully. The Dantai lineage was renowned as a genius among the great beings of the primordial sanctuary, having once held a reputation for brilliance. Now, decades later, their depths were undoubtedly unfathomable. After examining the Qinkuan ring, he transferred its contents into his own before scrutinizing the long sword in his hand. Inherently extraordinary, Qin-Jyoga accepted it without reservation, his calm gaze then settling upon the Qing Emojiao. "Xiao Fan," the Qing Emojiao roared, savoring the name as if to engrave it deep within its soul. "How am I to trust your words?" "Very well," Qin-Jyoga said, moving swiftly to land directly on the back of the Qing Emojiao. The Qing Emojiao bristled with slight anger, to which Qin-Jyoga gently explained, "I beg your pardon, Senior, but my cultivation is low, and my speed is simply too slow compared to yours." The Azure Demon Serpent let out a soft grunt from its nasal cavity, choosing to remain silent, which could be interpreted as tacit approval. It remarked, "I have just slain the members of the Danai sect, and yet you dare to draw so close to me? Are you not concerned that the Yuan-Chu sacred land might perceive you as complicit in my misdeeds?" The might of a powerful being was on full display. Qin-Jyoga pointed towards the western horizon, stating simply, "Over there." His resolve regarding his murderous intent towards Xiao Fan was no less fervent than that of the Azure Demon Serpent, perhaps even surpassing it. For as long as Xiao Fan lived, he, as the great antagonist, would never find peace. With a low growl filled with rage, the Azure Demon Serpent moved with astonishing agility through the void, akin to a streak of azure lightning. Meanwhile, Qin-Jyoga, clad in garments as white as snow, stood poised atop the serpent's back, his long hair billowing in the wind, exuding an aura reminiscent of a celestial being. Truly, he was a figure of divinity. At that moment, such thoughts surged within the hearts of all present as they gazed at the silhouette in white atop the Azure Demon Serpent, their hearts trembling in awe. "Remain here and await my return." Qin-Jyoga's calm voice echoed from above. Understood. The entire assembly of Taishu Mountain felt a jolt in their hearts, instinctively bowing in respect, exclaiming, "We bid farewell to the Holy Sun." In that moment, maintaining an air of indifference, he remarked, There is no need for the senior to trouble himself with this matter. When the time comes to encounter that Xiao Fan, you shall understand. Humph. The Qingma Jiao grunted, its voice low and heavy. Your knowledge of this matter is rather profound. Could it be that the holy son of Taishu bears a grudge against that Xiao Fan? To inform me now is merely a ploy to use me as a tool for your vengeance. As these words were spoken, Qin Zhouge felt an even more intense sensation of being scrutinized by an unseen gaze. However, the weight of the name Qin Zhouge was now consistently increasing. Indeed, I hold a deep-seated grudge against that Xiao Fan. But he paused briefly, then continued. It is true that the enemy responsible for the death of your son is none other than Xiao Fan. This was a bold scheme. Even if the Qingma Jiao were to perceive it, the outcome would remain unchanged. Humph. If you desire to wield me as a weapon, then why must you impose this condition upon me? Asking me to bear the blame for the slaughter of the Danai sect. Holy son of Taishu, do you truly believe I am some naive fool? The Qingma Jiao seethed with indignation as a powerful demon. Yet let us not forget he paused, his eyes deepening with a cold detachment that seemed to pierce through the fabric of worldly affairs. You seek the enemy responsible for your son's death. And I have revealed this to you. It is a fact. Regardless of my motives, this favor must be acknowledged. Should you take the blame for me, it would serve as your repayment for this favor. This utterance resonated like thunder in the void, deep and ferocious. Qin Zhouge furrowed his brow lightly. After a pause, he spoke slowly, saying, Senior, do not underestimate Xiao Fan. I have a premonition that we may return empty-handed today. Humph. The azure demon Jiao scoffed, his fierce killing intent soaring to the heavens, his dark golden eyes chillingly sinister. Even if Xiao Fan can leap, he remains merely a mortal bound by shackles. While I am a formidable being of the demon race, a mere insect, easily crushed beneath my foot. Upon hearing this, Qin Zhouge shook his head, choosing not to say more. He understood that no matter how he argued. Yet it was evident that the azure demon Jiao would not comply. Over there, Qin Zhouge pointed ahead towards a dense thicket. Confronted with the protagonist from the tome, as the arch-villain, he dared not let a dog act recklessly. His heart brimmed with murderous intent, vowing to strike Xiao Fan down in a single blow, leaving no time for a reaction. Though he scorned the mere mortal, once he unleashed his attack, it would be a certain kill. This is the nature of a mighty being. In the forest, enveloped in mist, the entirety of Sunset Abyss lay in a chaotic haze, even more so in this particular area, where thick gray fog permeated. The woman, however, was as beautiful as a celestial being. As if she had stepped forth from a painting as expected by Qin Zhouge, it was none other than Xiao Fan and Dan Taixian. This is the chosen one. Although he appeared to be a mere waste, his current power was insignificant. He had nonetheless awakened his potential, which was undeniably impressive. Dan Taixian also reacted swiftly, after a brief moment of hesitation. A staggering aura of terror emerged from the heavens and the earth, seemingly ready to collapse the void itself, descending upon the two individuals with a ferocious intent to suppress. Within that aura resided an overwhelming murderous force. In that moment, the entire realm quivered, unable to withstand the wrath of such a powerful being. Bold child, you dare to poach my progeny. Today, I shall ensure you find no resting place in death. The Qingma Jiao roared, leaving no room for dialogue. Upon his emergence, he unleashed a terrifying breath of eerie green, infused with unimaginable beastly power, enveloping the two figures in a relentless onslaught, intent on obliterating Xiao Fan. He dares not kill me, and his target is you. Quickly, go. With a fierce command, she forcefully pushed Xiao Fan away, and instead of fleeing, she turned to confront the oncoming breath of the Qingma Jiao. Ultimately gritting his teeth and casting a deep, resentful glance at the Qingma Jiao above, before resolutely turning away and transforming into a streak of fiery light, shooting off into the distance. The only outcome would be death. A distant, furious roar echoed, laden with an unyielding, bone-deep hatred. Dan Taixian's gaze hardened, emanating an icy chill as her formidable essence surged forth, not appearing abrupt, but rather ethereal and stunningly beautiful. She reached out, retrieving a small bell that shimmered with spiritual energy, which soon grew to a foot in size, hovering above her head and cascading numerous intricate patterns, enveloping her delicate form. Simultaneously, Dan Taixian suddenly swung her sword, unrivaled amongst her peers. Yet, regrettably, before her stands a formidable being who has attained the third step of divine power, a chasm of difference from the shackled realms. Not to mention this is the wrathful blow of the azure demon flood dragon. Isolating her fragile body, block it for me, Dan Taixian commanded, yet moments later her graceful face paled. The breath of the azure demon not only wielded astounding elemental force but also possessed a terrifying corrosive nature. His eyes widening in anguish, instantly turning crimson, radiating a terrifying and otherworldly ferocity as he roared skyward. I shall be fine. Flee swiftly. Dan Tai Xian steadily regained her footing, speaking calmly, even in the face of grave injury. Recognizing the wisdom in Dan Tai Xian's words, and without hesitation, he sprinted desperately into the distance. This is the opportunity Xianer has created for me. I must seize it. His thoughts raced. Amidst the frenzy, he retained his composure. Knowing that Xianer was not in mortal peril, yet he vowed that this enmity would not go unavenged. All of this transpired in the blink of an eye, from Xiao Fan sensing the imminent danger to the emergence of the Azure Demon. From Dan Tai Xian's injury to Xiao Fan's retreat, it was but a fleeting moment. Roar! The Azure Demon bellowed, harboring a deep-seated hatred for Xiao Fan. Where do you think you're fleeing? As he spoke, his colossal form showed no sign of halting, relentlessly pursuing Xiao Fan. How could a mere mortal insect hope to escape from my grasp? His dark golden eyes were filled with madness, the savage intent to kill rivaling the fury of a raging sea. Humph! However, in the next instant, the massive eyes of the Azure Demon suddenly narrowed in shock. As if witnessing a divine being descending from the heavens, a figure appeared before him once more, akin to a celestial fairy. Yet he found himself unable to escape even from a mere shackled realm practitioner. Although the limited space for movement had diminished the difficulty of her interception, the situation remained bewilderingly extraordinary. Perched upon the back of the Azure Demon Dragon, Qin Zhouge wore an expression of indifference. Upon witnessing this scene, his pupils involuntarily contracted, and he regarded the breathtaking woman before him with a grave demeanor. If the Dantai sect, possessing the Yuanling divine body, represented the elite of the sacred lands, then Dan Tai Xian, endowed with the celestial body, was the preeminent among the elite, the supreme among the supreme, a veritable young immortal king. Directly addressing him by name, Qin Zhouge chuckled lightly, seemingly oblivious to the change in her address, and nodded slightly. Dan Tai Jr. sister, it is a pleasure to see you again. Dan Tai Xian remained speechless. A goo furrowed his brow, for Qin Zhouge's influence prevented him from underestimating Xiao Fan. That previous strike had been unleashed with all his might. He had anticipated that even if he could not slay him. Cold as an icy pool, a fleeting glimmer of trepidation crossing her countenance. This individual is more formidable than I had anticipated. Her pupils constricted slightly as she mused inwardly. In that recent clash, neither party had held back. And she suddenly swung her sword. The sword light surged like lightning, reaching its zenith, resembling an ethereal fairy flashing through the air, striking toward Qin Zhouge in the blink of an eye. Capable of defying celestial beings. Bang, bang, bang. Dan Tai Xian staggered back 3 paces, her delicate face paling, her body quivering as the terrifying currents coursed through her. This was the ultimate technique from Taishu Mountain, the thunder. She was already gravely injured, while Qin Zhouge, at least outwardly, showed no signs of distress. Adding to her concern was the presence of a Go, lurking nearby with predatory intent. Should the conflict continue, it was highly probable that the one to suffer would be none other than she. Dan Tai Xian. Boom. In the midst of their entangled combat, Xiao Fan and the Azure Demon Serpent had long since vanished into the distance, their chase having escalated to a fever pitch, with only a distant speck of the serpent's massive form remaining visible. Clear even from such a distance, his gaze shifted towards the distant figures of one man and one beast, his eyes shimmering with starlight. The Azure Demon Serpent had gone utterly mad. One could only wonder how much trouble the frenzied demon would bring to the protagonist. Noticing Qin Zhouge's silence, Dan Tai Xian raised her graceful head, her beautiful eyes filled with concern as she gazed towards the unfolding battle. Just then, a thunderous voice rang out. Dream on if you think you can keep me. Xiao Fan. Qin Zhouge's pupils contracted. At that moment, the entire realm seemed to stir restlessly, igniting a sense of unease within the hearts of all present. Meanwhile, in the distance, a minuscule black, no larger than a speck of dust. Xiao Fan's blood stained the vast sky, yet his speed did not waver in the slightest, and in an instant, he vanished from the Qingma Zhao's line of sight. Impossible, the Qingma Zhao roared in rage. Its cruel eyes filled with disbelief. Even as a mighty demon, it was struck with terror by the speed Xiao Fan displayed, as if seeing a ghost. Qin Zhouge, Qingma Zhao. A voice, weak yet resolute, resonated throughout the heavens and earth. I shall remember this day. What a monstrous prodigy. Even with its immense powers, it felt a chill run through its entire being at this moment. Roar. After a while, the Qingma Zhao howled in extreme unwillingness, retreating toward the depths of the setting sun abyss. And he slowly shook his head, choosing not to dwell further. Moreover, Casting a forbidden technique beyond 1's level would inevitably lead to backlash, he chuckled softly, acknowledging that although he could not capture Xiao Fan today. Dan Aixian's lovely face turned cold, her exquisite eyes icy as frost, piercing like a sword of ice directed at a Go. However, the latter merely grinned, his arrogance unabated. I in his world. The words of the young master were akin to imperial decrees. As for others, be they celestial maidens or supreme divine beings, he could hardly be bothered. At that moment, a Go laughed brazenly, countering sharply. Did I speak incorrectly? Dan Aixian's gaze grew colder, fixed intently on a Go, who naturally nodded in response. Dan Aixian's delicate visage bore a hint of frost, yet she gradually regained her composure, centering herself and calming her turbulent emotions. Before Qin Zhuogao, she dared not be careless. Might I ask what further matter concerns you, Qin Shixiao? Qin Zhuogao responded with a light laugh. The sunsetting abyss has recently become quite perilous. It would be prudent for us to journey together for mutual support. Dan Aixian's eyes narrowed slowly, a formidable sword intent emanating from her, a force that would overwhelm any ordinary practitioner of the shackled realm with but a glance, leaving them grievously wounded. Yet Qin Zhuogao remained undaunted, fearing the repercussions that might ensue. With matters concerning the saint son of the void and the youthful female immortal king of the Yuanshu sacred land at stake, no one dared to act recklessly. Moments later, the young swordsman's figure appeared within a residence of considerable stature, albeit in disarray, having suffered significant damage from the Azure Demon Zhirao's onslaught the previous day, with many now fervently engaged in repairs. What is a mere residence worth? To have survived is indeed a stroke of fortune. Brother Huang sighed, a hint of trepidation lingering in his tone. You may not know, but even a natural divine body from the Yuanshu sacred land was slain by that Azure Demon Jiao on the spot. In comparison to the Dantai sect, what does my status as a practitioner of divine abilities amount to? He shook his head, expressing his sentiments that I have heard of this matter as well. Zhang Qing pondered for a moment. It is acceptable for you to be aware, but do refrain from speaking of it openly. Zhang Qing abruptly rose to his feet, saying, Brother Huang, I have other matters to attend to. I must take my leave. With that, he turned and departed. Chapter 59. Unfaltering in the face of tempestuous seas. On the third day, Qin Zhuogao remained silent, yet as he slowly opened his starry eyes from his meditative state, his gaze fell upon the commander of the Blood Qin Guards. There was no hint of intentionality, yet an aura of terror enveloped the space, causing the commander to tremble in fear and respect. Ha ha! Qin Zhuogao chuckled lightly. How utterly decisive. Is this what they mean by a hero's struggle against the allure of beauty? He smiled indifferently. Moreover, the commander of the Blood Qin Guards continued to report. Xiao Fan provided his subordinates with contact details. He can be reached at the Sunset Tower. Can this lead us to his true identity? Qin Zhuogao pondered. Not at all. A Go interjected. Xiao Fan communicated with us through an intermediary. Then even if all the fortunes of the world were concentrated in one individual, he would have met his demise countless times by now. Thus, relay my message, require him to present himself in Sunset City to meet with me. Qin Zhuogao stated coolly. The commander of the Blood Qin Guards accepted the command and departed. The parties could now communicate directly in Sunset City, an efficiency vastly superior to before. Proceed, Qin Zhuogao instructed succinctly. Upon hearing these words, Qin Zhuogao not only remained unperturbed but instead chuckled softly. Xiao Fan, it seems I have underestimated you. Qin Zhuogao mused to himself, his eyes glimmering with brilliance. My lord, a Go inquired softly, and began to read softly. Holy Spirit Water, 2 or 3 portions, a piece of Millennium Demon Spirit Root, True Essence Fruit. The items were listed with remarkable detail, even specifying the exact quantities required for each rare material. For Xiao Fan, gathering them will be no easy feat since he has promised you half. It indicates he has already been moved. It seems that Dan Taixian holds significant weight in his heart. Despite Xiao Fan being the protagonist with a golden finger, refining it would not be a simple task, necessitating external aid. According to the guidance of the mysterious elder in the ring, the most effective aid would be none other than the supreme spiritual pill. Consequently, the remaining materials were discovered through his perusal of the Dan Dao classics of Tai Su Mountain. As for the heavenly spirit warm jade, it also belonged to the category of auxiliary materials. His lips parting slightly. If this time I do not obtain what I seek, then even if it means waging war against the sacred land and shattering mountains and rivers, or traversing vast oceans for countless miles, I shall surely slay Dan Aixian. In Chapter 60, the young master of supreme repute dares to wield the sword. Should the other party be willing to cooperate, he would not mind adhering to the underlying rules. However, should they refuse, his own life would be at stake. leaving no room to concern himself with the impending deluge behind him. With these words, an overwhelming aura of slaughter erupted from Qin. I cannot afford to take such a risk. I cannot wager my life upon it. In contrast, although the great sun-burning heaven flame is classified among the Tao fires, it is ultimately but an external object. Yes, rest assured, my lord, the status of Dan Taixian is of a caliber far beyond that of the Dan Tai sect. Her hidden cards seemingly endless, even I find it difficult to gauge her potential. Having spoken, he wasted no time, beckoning the Blood Qin guard captain, let us depart. With that, he retrieved an unusual talisman from his Qianquan ring, concealing both himself and the Blood Qin guard captain's forms and auras. Where is Xiener? At the Sunset Pavilion, Qin Jiugao replied softly. As long as I obtain what I seek, I shall naturally grant my junior sister Danai her freedom. Xiao Fan scoffed coldly, his words laced with scorn. If I were to hand over the item to you and you still refuse to release Xiener. A palpable sense of foreboding enveloped the atmosphere. Perhaps today, history would be made. With this thought, the crowd exchanged glances, momentarily silenced by trepidation. The vast city of Sunset was engulfed in an eerie stillness. The sheer momentum was terrifying. Even Dan Taixian, at this moment, wore a grave expression, refusing to underestimate her opponent. She frantically channeled her energy, her longsword glowing with brilliance as torrents of formidable power coursed through it. Releasing arcs of sword light. Break, Dan Taixian exclaimed, swinging her sword with ferocity. Instantly, a horrific beam of sword light flowed like quicksilver, embodying unparalleled sharpness, crashing against the advancing thunder domain of Qin Jiugao. Boom! A cataclysmic collision erupted, illuminating the heavens and earth in an instant, compelling all to instinctively shut their eyes, lest the blinding radiance sear their vision. The world seemed to momentarily fall silent, an eerie stillness enveloping all. In terms of raw power, it could not compare to the earlier clashes of great beings, yet the aura interwoven within was equally formidable, exuding an essence of the Tao that was utterly fearsome. A climactic battle could have ensued, but given Dan Taixian's current condition, hoping to gain the upper hand against Qin Jiugao was nothing short of a pipe dream. Cough, cough, cough. She barely managed to steady herself. This individual acted with reckless abandon. With a sudden exclamation, Qin Jiugao violently coughed up blood, yet his hair billowed dramatically, exuding an aura of invincibility akin to a youthful battle immortal that he laughed towards the heavens. An unfathomable terror as he charged towards Dan Taixian. She trembled within, her injuries too severe, and though she longed to flee, Qin Jiugao offered no respite, closing the distance in an instant. Humph, do you truly think I fear you? Beams of light cleaving through the heavens, raining down upon Qin Jiugao with lethal intent. Meanwhile, Qin Jiugao, driven to madness, shed his usual ethereal demeanor, radiating lightning as he unleashed his might. Reminiscent of a thunder god descending to battle across the void. Sword light illuminated the sky, lightning flickered, and the released elemental force occasionally struck the ground in Sunset City, erupting into an overwhelming explosion of fury. This spectacle left those observing below in stunned silence. Even the stray flashes of sword light and lightning left them on edge, fearing for their own safety, knowing that a stray hit could lead to severe injury. These two were far too formidable. Truly, he is the young supreme, and his only rival is none other than his opponent. Gasps of astonishment filled the air, as all eyes remained fixated. In the void above, Qin Jiugao's gaze crackled with intensity. Fiercely assaulting Qin Jiugao, this blow, too, was delivered with all her might, and due to the reckless surge of her energy, before she could harm Qin Jiugao, she found herself spitting blood. Do I not possess a superior spirit artifact? Sending it hurtling towards the starlit shield, while his lightning spear twisted to counter Dan Taixian's sword light. Break for me, he bellowed, merging with the spear. The terrifying thunderous glow surged forth, engulfing the realm in a blinding light, likely to bear an immeasurable impact on the eastern wilderness, a tale worthy of the annals of heroic battles. Bang! It was not long before the result emerged. A bright yellow figure was sent hurtling backward, his long hair billowing in the wind. Without a moment's hesitation, he darted forth at breakneck speed, pursuing the figure of Dan Taixian as she was sent hurtling backwards. Another spear of lightning coalesced in the palm of his hand, aimed to pierce Dan Taixian. The reason he was able to suppress Dan Taixian in this battle was primarily due to her grievous injuries. However, Qin Jiugao would never be so naive as to seek a fair fight. Having chosen to engage, he could not afford to relent now that the opportunity presented itself. He was determined to annihilate Dan Taixian. Just as if their positions were reversed, Dan Taixian would not spare him merely due to his weakened state. if she harbored murderous intent. Starlight Shield, the spear of lightning bore down upon her, causing Dantai Xian's spirit to tremble violently. Yet, being a paragon, she remained composed despite her shock. With a swift motion of her mind, she summoned the Starlight Shield to stand before her. In an instant, her entire being erupted in immeasurable light, a brilliant glow imbued with a sense of sanctity, casting her figure in the likeness of a youthful celestial queen, exuding an awe-inspiring aura. Qin Jiugong seized the opportunity while Dantai Xian was preoccupied with the Starlight Shield, finally shattering the Starlight Barrier, scattering it into shards of energy like glass. Is this the legendary flying immortal body? Such vitality is formidable. Qin Jiugong's expression turned solemn as he regarded Dantai Xian, a flicker of apprehension flashing in his eyes, yet overshadowed by an overwhelming battle fervor. What of the flying immortal body? Utterly incredulous, the celestial light was breathtaking. Could it be? Staring intently at the celestial radiance surrounding Dantai Xian, an elderly man with silver hair donned a contemplative expression, after a moment, as if struck by a revelation. Evoked no particular concern. For prodigies such as they had long grown accustomed to such reactions, perhaps only those of equal stature would warrant their serious consideration. Qin Jiuge, even though you are the son of the void. She sought to avenge her previous disgrace. Boom! The earth-shattering battle erupted once more, a tempestuous surge of primal energy enveloping both combatants. As they engaged in a flurry of strikes, the spiritual energies of heaven and earth thrown into disarray. Boom! After a cataclysmic collision, the two finally separated, and a figure was sent hurtling backward, a mirror image of the earlier event, only this time it was Qin Jiuge, blood staining the ground. Dantai Xian radiated brilliance. It found itself engulfed in a haze, with only the ethereal essence of Qin Jiuge remaining, fading into obscurity. In that fleeting instant, Dantai Xian was engulfed in a wave of panic, having never encountered such a predicament before. I never imagined you would possess such demonic prowess, Dantai Xian continued, as the golden figure's indistinct face registered shock. Qin Jiuge replied, standing with hands clasped behind his back, not engaging further, and lightly remarked, Dantai Shimi. And her entire being exuded an air of utter exhaustion. Compared to her state just before the revival of her celestial form, her injuries now seemed even more severe, for the previous injuries were merely corporeal. Roaring as it shot towards Dantai Xian, with this strike, he intended to annihilate her. At that very moment, Qin Jiuge suddenly felt a chilling dread envelop him, sensing a terrifying aura rising before Dantai Xian. The essence of the Grand Tao appeared hazy, gradually coalescing into a humanoid specter that emanated an unparalleled aura, capable of suppressing all beings. Upon its emergence, its piercing gaze inflicted a deep wound upon Qin Jiuge's body. It bore the visage of a middle-aged man, his features resolute, clad in battle armor, exuding a powerful presence that swept across the scene, instilling fear in all who dared to gaze upon him. She had no ability to counterattack and was finally forced to unveil it as the projection of Dantai Yifeng materialized. His gaze flickered, and in an instant, Qin Jiuge's thunder dragon shattered, though merely an apparition. A dog's gaze narrowed, displaying a rebellious spirit, albeit with an undercurrent of trepidation. As for Elder Lu, he was even more astounded, his countenance transforming as he beheld that ethereal figure, being a distinguished elder of Taisu Mountain. Moreover, it was merely a projection of Dantai. Dressed in garments as white as snow, he wore a smile that was both mocking and enigmatic. Is it merely a projection of your divine consciousness that you rely upon? For it was a force beyond compare. Yet, the Taisu sacred son dared to confront such an apparition. Had he lost his senses, or was it his audacity that astonished all? The onlookers exchanged glances. His gaze as sharp as a divine blade, bearing down upon the young man with a terrifying pressure that felt as if it could envelop the heavens. However, Qin Jiuge remained composed. Now that he had resolved to kill, a mere projection was hardly a barrier. Such assumptions were far too fantastical. Very well, very well, very well. Upon hearing these words, the elder of the Dantai clan was consumed by fury. For he had never endured such humiliation from a junior. Enraged, he spat out 3 disdainful words. Junior, it seems you have chosen to drink the bitter wine instead of the sweet. Qin Jiuge chuckled lightly. Their astonishment at Qin Jiuge growing ever deeper. It was evident that while his words appeared humble, they were laced with an arrogance that knew no bounds. Did the holy son of the Taisu imply that he would surely slay Dantai Xian today? With limited ability to strike that moment, Dantai Xian, visibly weakened, managed to utter, It is the way. Before he could finish, Qin Jiuge's expression hardened, and he struck out violently. A flying dagger pierced the void. appearing before Dan Taixian in an instant, interrupting his words and aiming to deliver a fatal blow. How dare you, Junior? Qin Zhougao's countenance was indifferent, his gaze turning icy. This sword, I ask for your guidance. Senior, as he spoke, a flicker of ethereal light emanated from his Qianquan ring, revealing a golden paper imbued with potent waves of primordial energy. Without even activating it, a terrifying sword light flickered forth, cleaving the very fabric of reality. Though he had not intended to expose the matter of slaying the Dan Tai sect, now that he had resolved to eliminate Dan Taixian, the world would tremble. One that resonated with his own, or rather, that spirit-sealing page had originated from his own hand. Did you truly slay my son? In an instant, his eyebrows shot up like twin heavenly blades, poised to cleave Qin Zhougao in two. Moreover, this junior had the audacity to reveal such a spirit-sealing page before him. Such audacity was beyond belief. Enraged, he roared skyward, leaving no room for words, and pointed a finger forward, summoning a three-zhong sword light that materialized from thin air. Aimed directly at Qin Zhougao, intent on delivering a lethal strike. In that moment, he unleashed all restraint, prepared to clash fiercely with the powerful figure behind Qin Zhougao. This sword is but weak, facing the overwhelming sword light. His murky pupils suddenly widening as he exclaimed, "Could it be? Elder Zhang, with your vast experience, have you discerned something?" The others inquired urgently, their hearts ablaze with curiosity. The elder maintained a ghostly expression. "I cannot say for certain. Wait, not long ago, when Dantai sect met its demise, it was widely believed to be the work of the Qingma Jiao. Yet if memory serves me right, the holy son of Taishu was also present at that time," and turned away, unwilling to speak further. Qin Zhougao, however, paid no heed to their reactions. His gaze was like lightning, unyielding in the face of Dan Aifang, as he swept his hand, uttering softly, "Go." In an instant, the 3-inch sword light shot forth, and with a mighty slash, he unleashed it. Boom! A cataclysmic collision ensued. The fierce sword light crisscrossed through the heavens and earth, enveloping the entire realm in its intent. The cascading sword light from above plowed through the ravaged Sunset City once more. He staggered back 3 steps, his expression one of horror, casting an intensely unwilling glare at the figure of Qin Zhouga before him. The strike contained within the spirit-sealing page was overwhelmingly powerful, becoming increasingly insubstantial. He chuckled softly to himself, pondering the irony of being extinguished by his own sword intent. Perhaps this could be seen as a return of things to their rightful owner. The projection turned its gaze towards the delicate face of Zhao Daxian. Otherwise, the inevitable response would be Qin Zhouga's wrathful strike, robbing them of even their final moments together. Therefore, Qin Zhouga stood with his hands clasped behind him, a gentle smile gracing his lips, quietly observing the father-daughter duo, their entire beings turning cold, as if faced with a demon from the depths of hell. Only Ago cackled grotesquely, shifting to stand half a step behind Qin Zhouga, a sinister grin spreading across his face as he remarked, "Tsk. What a moving scene this is, heh." Though he spoke of emotion, his words dripped with mockery and delight. The anguish and despair of the prey before death thrilled him, sending tremors of perverse pleasure through his Dan Taixian is no ordinary person. Although she has fallen into a realm of certain death, the moment her divine projection collapses, she wipes away her tears and regains her former composure and resilience. Her eyes, as fluid as water, turn icy cold as she gazes intently at Qin Zhouga. "If you kill me today, in the battle at Shuelong Lake 2 months hence, Xiao Fan will surely avenge me." With a nonchalant smile, Qin Zhouga responds, "Perhaps I shall send him to accompany you instead." Then Taixian scoffs in derision. "Qin Zhouga, do you genuinely believe you can rampage unchecked through this world? It is vast, and there will always be someone to put you in your place. Is that so?" Qin Zhouga replies ambiguously, his tone as gentle as an old friend reminiscing. "However, today, I must first claim your life," causing her delicate form to tremble involuntarily. "Hee, Dantai Jr. sister, you possess keen insight. It is indeed the Yuan Ling divine sword." Qin Zhouga nods, advancing slowly. No, do not approach, despite Dan Taixian's resolute heart. With that, Qin Zhouga no longer hesitates. His form flashes like lightning, and when he reappears, he stands above Dan Taixian, looking down upon her. He reverses the grip on the sword and thrusts it down with great force, its tip piercing through the crown of Dan Taixian's head at the Baihui point, traversing her throat until it reached the hilt, a torrent of crimson blood erupting from the top of her head. Yet, in that moment, the city resembled a ghost town. Not a soul dared to utter a word, and even the sound of breathing grew faint, as if everyone subconsciously stifled their breaths, fearful of drawing Qin Zhouga's attention. Such a terrifying tableau rendered all minds nearly paralyzed, their gazes blank and unseeing. After a prolonged silence, they finally grasped the reality. The Dantai fairy of the primordial sacred land had indeed been slain. Each discerned a shared understanding reflected in one another's eyes. The eastern wilderness is on the verge of upheaval. In the void, Qin expression remained indifferent, even amid the multitude, as he felt Danai Xian. To see if my body truly harbored issues, as Dantai's junior sister had just witnessed. Indeed, such matters existed, and they were rather troublesome. Upon hearing Qin words, Dantai Xian's dilated pupils seemed to flicker with a hint of vitality. Rapidly disseminated, stirring the hearts and minds of countless individuals, everyone found themselves in a daze. Whether it was Qin or Danai Xian, both merely in their 20s, they were just at the dawn of their potential. Chapter 71. Cultivating Demons, Refining the DAO.in. The Huangquan Sacred Sect, also a powerful faction within the Eastern Wasteland, reigning over myriad mountains and rivers. A young man in a black robe with gold trim stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His complexion pale as if he had not seen sunlight for years, his handsome visage tinged with an indescribable malevolence, exuding a certain demonic allure, listening quietly to a report from someone behind him. His cold eyes flickered. Oh, Qin has actually slain Dantai Xian. How intriguing! A sinister smile crept upon his lips, as if he had stumbled upon a delightful spectacle at Petit Taishu Mountain, within the Jinwu Great Hall. Yet his attention was captivated by another matter as he inquired gravely. Are you saying that while Dantai Xian was besieged by grave injuries, Qin had been compelled to spit blood by her? Storing her lifeless form within his Qinquan ring, and with a flicker of his figure, he appeared atop the Sunset Tower. Due to the recent battle between Gu and Dantai Xian, the magnificent Sunset Tower was nearly obliterated. Yes, Elder Lu promptly acquiesced, quickly setting up a new space for him. Although it could not compare to the previous rooftop of Sunset Tower, Qin was not one to be finicky, and he stepped in without hesitation. You truly killed Dantai Xian, a sudden, cool voice interjected, tinged with mild astonishment but predominantly calm, as if merely making an offhand remark. As she spoke, a graceful figure emerged slowly, clad in azure robes. Her eyes resembled autumn waters, her brows were like delicate ink, and her skin was fair and flawless, akin to porcelain. Ethereal like the essence of jade, she was breathtakingly beautiful, rivaling even the renowned beauty of the Eastern Wasteland. Dantai Xian, with an allure that was utterly stunning. In contrast to Dantai Xian's gentle demeanor, her aura exuded a chilling elegance, shrouded in mystery. Qin displayed no surprise at her sudden appearance. As if he had anticipated it all along, upon hearing her words, Qin offered a faint smile. If I have killed her, then so be it. The woman in azure nodded casually, refraining from further inquiries. In the next instant, her figure vanished, merging seamlessly with the surrounding space, leaving no trace behind. Qin smiled slightly, unperturbed by her departure. He sat down cross-legged, a rare fervor illuminating his handsome features, as he reached for the heavenly spirit warmed jade. As if stirred by an unseen hand, forming a massive vortex, the turbulent energy surging wildly. An astonishing sight unfolded. At the vortex's center, a peculiar plant materialized. It began as a mere seed, rapidly growing and blossoming. The golden sea of qi gradually calmed, and at its center, a yin-yang flower blossomed, releasing an ineffable essence of the Tao that subdued the entire expanse of qi. Were anyone to behold Qin qi si. Though deceased, her delicate form continued to emanate a glow, accentuating her extraordinary beauty, a remarkable sight indeed. The flying immortal body was, without doubt, exceptional. His gaze narrowed, a cryptic smile danced upon his lips. It appears that I shall benefit from this. He shook his head and continued his exploration. The star shield, splendid. In his hand appeared a petite shield, intricately engraved with the sun, moon, and stars, exuding an air of antiquity and grandeur. This was the high-grade spiritual weapon. Furthermore, as a daughter of heaven, her status was extraordinarily esteemed, and thus her Qinquan ring housed a considerable collection of spiritual elixirs, ranging from the Great Recovery Pill for healing wounds to the Gathering Yuan Pill for cultivation. Everything one could desire. Whether to thwart Xiao Fan or to seize his own fortune, he had no reason to abandon this pursuit. As for the issue of ingredients, it was equally true. For instance, the heavenly spirit warm jade could not be found in the treasury of Taishu Mountain. Are you certain? Certain, Qin affirmed with a nod. After a moment's pause, he gravely asked, do you possess confidence? It is difficult to say. Qin slowly shook his head. After all, the opponent was a child favored by destiny. And Taishu Mountain would never permit harm to befall their holy son. War was inevitable. Sunset City was a perilous place. We must depart swiftly. All warriors were filled with trepidation, sensing that Sunset City would soon become a battlefield for two colossal powers. Qin Jiugu had emerged from his seclusion, standing atop Sunset Tower, surveying the entirety of the city. Observing the countless martial artists rushing with urgency, his expression remained utterly unperturbed, akin to a great dragon surveying mere ants below. As if discussing the affairs of others, faced with the impending retribution of the entire Holy Land, he remained utterly unperturbed. Agu cackled. To seek to kill the young master is akin to a fool's dream. Qin Jiugu offered a faint smile, choosing not to respond, and continued, the second matter. Keep a vigilant watch over the depths of the setting sun abyss. Any suspicious movements, particularly those related to various strange fires, resembling a city of death. Suddenly, a stirring sensation gripped Qin Jiugu's heart. In the expanse of the heavens, a forceful and searing aura manifested, rapidly approaching setting sun city. Qin Jiugu sensed it first as a faint presence, but in the blink of an eye, it caused the temperature of the entire city to rise dramatically. Turning to look, he saw a towering figure hurtling through the distant skies, engulfed in flames. When Qin Jiugu first traversed into this realm, Elder Kuanghua had supported him in his confrontation with Elder Chun in the Hall of Heavenly Position, standing firmly by his side against Elder Tiansong. I have met Elder Kuanghua. Qin Jiugu offered a slight bow. The Elder of Blazing Fire, true to his name, is a forthright individual. With a grand gesture, he declared, You are the Holy Sun. Your status is not inferior to that of my position as a heavenly elder. Must render my respects. Upon hearing these words, the elder's mood evidently brightened, a grin spreading across his face. Yet, as if recalling something, he shook his head helplessly. Your slaying of Dan Tai Xian has certainly stirred the heavens. The elder's expression grew solemn. You wish to concoct the sacred Nether Guardian pill? Indeed, Qin Jiugu affirmed, retrieving a Qiankuan ring. I have nearly gathered all the necessary herbs, aside from the Tianshan leaf and ice crystal sand. The Elder of Blazing Fire examined the Qiankuan ring, nodding in satisfaction after a thorough inspection. No items are missing. We should not delay. I shall commence the alchemical process at once, he declared, his voice resolute. Yet Qin Jiugu was an exception to this rule. Once the others had departed, the elder turned to Qin Jiugu, saying, The sacred Nether Guardian pill is an exquisite spiritual elixir. Even for me, it is no simple task. There would be but one day remaining until the emergence of the great sun-burning heaven flame, affording him ample opportunity to react. Very well, the elder nodded, refraining from further commentary, with a sudden flourish of his hand. In the palm of his hand, a vibrant red flame surged forth, resembling a ferocious flame lion. Exotic fire, Lionheart flame, Qin Jiugu softly uttered, revealing the origin of that blazing inferno. Many powerful beings had perished beneath the might of the elder's Lionheart flame. Causing the lid to soar into the air, his movements were swift as lightning. He quickly extracted a piece of Millennium Demon Spirit Root from his Qiankuan ring and hurled it into the cauldron, proclaiming, This is the second step, refining the medicine. The Lionheart flame was a primal beast fire belonging to a formidable demon clan. Its temperature was extraordinary, and in the hands of such a powerful being, its potency could be fully unleashed. Before long, the Millennium Demon Spirit Root began to melt, with black impurities being expelled continuously, transforming into a state of purity that allowed the medicinal properties to be maximized. This was the first time he had witnessed someone refining pills, especially a supreme spiritual pill that could only be crafted by a master alchemist. It was an invaluable experience for him. Time gradually slipped away in the blink of an eye. 3 hours had passed, and the sky outside grew dim. With the successful refinement of the last medicinal ingredient, this step was deemed complete. The next phase, weapon forging and formations, were equally profound, allowing for cross-disciplinary understanding. Given his status, he need not worry about pills, spiritual weapons, or formations. Whenever needed, there would be those to serve him. However, a fundamental comprehension of these great paths was essential. What is it? Qin Jiugu inquired. Ago licked his lips, a fierce glint appearing in his eyes, reporting to the young master, The Yuanchu Holy Land and Artaishu Mountain are at war. Chapter 75, The Fall of a Great Being. Oh, upon hearing these words, a chilling glint momentarily flashed in the indifferent gaze of Qin Jiugu. Agu respectfully reported, I have just received news that after the young master dispatched Dan Xian, the Yuanchu Holy Land was incensed. Qin Jiugu nodded slightly. Upon hearing that countless lives were suffering due to his actions, his eyes remained devoid of any emotion, chillingly indifferent, as if those were not living souls but mere ants. He inquired. What was the outcome? Qin Jiogong nodded with an air of detachment, his thoughts profound, revealing nothing of his inner reflections. After a moment of contemplation, he instructed Ago. This matter cannot simply end here. Unfazed.it had only been 3 hours since he had given his orders, and with 3 days remaining until the emergence of the great sun burning heaven flame, the absence of news was entirely expected. Making a total of 5 powerful entities united in their quest to eliminate the Taishu Holy Sun, Qin Jiogong. However, Taishu Mountain had also sent 2 formidable beings to intercept them, resulting in a cataclysmic clash. This battle ravaged the land for 1,000 miles, leaving it barren and desolate, with countless souls suffering. Upon hearing this, Qin Jiogong lowered his gaze. What is the status of the battle? Agu shook his head. Half an hour later, in a frenzy, the Yuanshu Holy Land launched a relentless assault on the venerable elder of Taishu Mountain, resulting in further casualties among the mighty, in this clash between the 2 great holy lands. Utterly incapable of retreat. I understand, Qin Jiogong replied calmly. Although 2 great powers perished due to his actions, he appeared utterly unfazed. As tranquil as a gentle breeze, the contemplative expression graced his exceptionally handsome face. Around him, the celestial energies of heaven and earth surged violently into his being like a whirlpool, creating a breathtaking spectacle. At this moment, it was not only Qin Jiogong who was attentive. The entire expanse of the eastern wilderness was under the watchful gaze of martial artists who had reached a certain level. Once the dust settled, the scene in Sunset City was replayed, the crowd surged, and panic ensued as everyone hastily departed, fearing for their safety. Centered around the cities of Andu, Nanjing, and Chang'an, the atmosphere was heavy with dread. As all sought to escape, terrified of being caught in the crossfire. The following day, news spread, reaching various factions across the eastern wilderness almost simultaneously. The pinnacle power of the Yuanshu sacred land, a being on the verge of transcending into another realm. Later, he entered the Qin Emperor's tutelage, and with his guidance, he forcefully broke through to the realm of great powers. Since then, he had vanished from public view for a century has passed. And one wonders what level of cultivation he has attained now. Soon, the crowd's bewilderment dissipated. 3,000 miles from Sunset Abyss, Bai Li Jinglong encountered Dan Taifang, and an astonishing battle erupted between them. That clash, occurring thousands of miles away, stirred Qin Jiogong's heart as he sat atop Sunset Tower, sensing the terrifying tremors from such a distance. The celestial energy surged, and the ground quaked violently, akin to a dragon awakening from slumber. Resulting in mutual devastation, this battle could be regarded as Bai Li Jinglong fighting on behalf of his master, and the outcome did not tarnish his master's illustrious reputation as he stood his ground against a being of Dan Taifang's caliber. Following this confrontation, Dan Taifang retreated in dejection. Bai Li Jinglong, though wounded, did not yield an inch, sitting cross-legged outside the Sunset Abyss, resolutely guarding it, embodying an indomitable spirit that could withstand an army. Chapter 76, The Sacred Spirit Guardian Pill. In the ensuing 2 days, the mighty beings of the Yuanshu sacred land and the Taishu Mountain engaged in relentless battles, traversing vast distances and sweeping away all in their path. Notably, the clashes between Dan Taifang and Bai Li Jinglong unfolded over 3 fierce encounters. Many felt a chill run down their spines, as if witnessing a sky drenched in blood and bones. Amidst the external turmoil, Qin Jiogong remained vigilant, yet undisturbed. Upon confirming that no mighty figures from the Yuanshu sacred land would intrude within the next 5 days. Standing still, with a glimmer of eager anticipation subtly surfacing in his eyes, concentrate. A low command resonated from within the alchemy chamber, echoing powerfully. The next moment, the icy aura receded, and the fragrant essence dissipated quietly. The door swung open, revealing Elder Kuanghua's slightly fatigued visage. Ha ha. I have not failed my mission. Upon seeing Qin Jiogong, he smiled and retrieved a jade vial from his Qian Kuan ring, presenting it to Qin Jiogong. Qin Jiogong accepted it with grace, not rushing to open it, and nodded with a smile towards Elder Kuanghua. Thank you for your hard work, Elder Kuanghua. After the latter waved his hand with a smile. Rejuvenating the spirit. When one's palm envelopes it, a refreshing sensation surges, invigorating the soul and causing Qin Jiogong's every pore to almost unfurl, bestowing an unprecedented clarity upon his mind, with thoughts crystallizing into sharpness severfold. Could this be the sacred Nether Guardian Pill? Qin Jiogong murmured, truly worthy of being a supreme elixir. Ah, indeed. Elder Kuanghua laughed heartily, a self-satisfied expression washing over his face. This is a top-tier spiritual pill. Haha, in any case, I must express my gratitude to Elder Kuanghua for this occasion. Qin Jiogong smiled, carefully securing the sacred Nether Guardian pill. He mused inwardly, this is precisely the privilege that a high-status antagonist enjoys, relying solely on a fortunate twist of fate to summon the Elder from within the ring. Yet here he is, merely uttering a few words, and a master alchemist traverses great distances to refine it personally for him. The disparity is beyond rational comprehension. As these thoughts quickly flitted through his mind, Qin Jiugao maintained an impassive facade and addressed Elder Kuanghua. Nevertheless, I must trouble you further for what lies ahead. With a wave of his hand, the Tiansoa warship materialized, suspended in the void like a floating island. Elder Kuanghua, please, Qin Jiugao gestured, and both he and Elder Kuanghua swiftly vanished, reappearing aboard the Tiansoa warship. Following closely behind, a dog, Elder Liu, and the Blood Qin guards hastened to board as well. A dog, head towards the depths of the setting sun abyss, he commanded indifferently, his expression gradually turning solemn, signaling a dog to steer the Tiansoa warship at breakneck speed toward the abyss's depths. In the depths of the setting sun abyss, compared to the outer regions, the eerie fog thickened, shrouding the heavens and earth. Even at the height of noon, the sky remained dim, only barely allowing for the passage of time to be gauged. This region was extensive, encompassing several hundred miles, a realm of uniformity. Young master, Qin Jiugao arrived promptly, and soon a Blood Qin guard, who had come ahead to scout for information, approached to report. Is there any sign of activity? By the time the sun sets today, it shall be the moment of the great sun-burning heaven flames' emergence. He had personally searched this region throughout the night, and with his formidable speed as a practitioner of divine powers, they are unworthy to contest me for fortune. In fact, during this competition, several formidable figures had appeared, serving as mere background for Xiao Fan. Ultimately, Xiao Fan, relying on his golden finger, had audaciously refined the great sun-burning heaven flame right under the noses of these great beings. Almost simultaneously, Qin Jiugao felt a stirring in his heart. Turning to look, his sharp gaze slicing through the thick mist of the setting sun's abyss, as if it could pierce through the endless distance. Boom! In the heavens and earth, two streams of primal energy collided with a thunderous roar, unleashing fierce ripples of energy that resonated across the land, a tempest sweeping forth, causing Qin Jiugao's robes to billow and snap. Two formidable auras emerged, overwhelming as the sea, both astonishingly powerful. A flicker of realization sparked within Qin Jiugao. One of the auras felt somewhat familiar. Chapter 77. The Dao Fire is about to emerge. Qingma Jiao, however, its current condition was far from favorable. This proud demon being appeared to be fleeing. Behind it, a humanoid figure pursued, seemingly inconspicuous compared to Qingma Jiao, yet emanating an aura that surpassed even that of Qingma Jiao. But he soon relaxed, offering a nonchalant smile. Surely, Qingma Jiao is being hunted in retaliation for taking the blame on my behalf, as the Danai faction believes it was responsible for the death of Danai Zhou. With a flicker of ethereal light from the Qiankuan ring in his hand, Qin Jiugao retrieved a set of formation discs, casting them forth with a flourish. In a sudden flash of inspiration. Jiugao, your concealment formation is truly remarkable. It has even managed to fool those two powerful beings. Ha ha! Elder Kuanghua exclaimed with a hearty laugh. Yet, as he gazed at the receding figures of the two formidable beings, given that he could not discern any clues in advance, Qin Jiugao chose to calm himself, sitting cross-legged in meditation as he awaited the emergence of the great sun-burning heaven flame. It must be near. Qin Jiugao opened his eyes, rose to his full height, and stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing at the luminous orb of the moon, his gaze reflecting the passage of time. Suddenly, a profound wave of energy enveloped the area, as if the very essence of the Tao had descended, instantly shrouding the entire region within the depths of the setting sun, emanating an aura of supreme significance. The temperature in this area was palpably higher, as if the very air were igniting, causing a terrifying distortion. Whoosh! With a piercing sound of explosive air, the three figures descended. Before them lay a seemingly unremarkable flat expanse. However, at its center, it had transformed into a realm of raging flames, where all that met the eye was firelight. Moreover, this open space spanned merely a few miles, easily visible in its entirety. Yet the central region engulfed in flames appeared as if it were an endless horizon, seemingly containing another dimension of existence. It is a projection of a miniature world. Qin Jiugao responded solemnly, his conviction unwavering. Hearing this, Elder Kuanghua cast a surprised glance at him, as a formidable figure. His extensive experience had only allowed him to grasp a hint of the truth, and he had not anticipated that Qin Jiugao could articulate its origin so decisively. It appears that Jiugao harbors many secrets. Indeed, he is the young supreme, the dragon of Taisu Mountain, he mused. The weight of Qin's yoga in his heart rising once more. In truth, as the author of this world, aside from Xiao Fan, who was inherently connected to the great sun burning heaven flame. His gaze shadowy, emanating a chilling aura that sent shivers down the spine. Dan Kuang Lao Gui, Huang Zhe. Elder Kuanghua's pupils narrowed as he immediately recognized the two individuals. Upon hearing this, Qin's yoga's expression shifted. And after years of exploration, he had managed to piece it together, arriving at this point with the intention of obtaining the great sun burning heaven flame to further his ambitions and extend his life. Furthermore, Huang Zhe held another identity, an elder of the Yellow Spring sacred sect from the eastern wilderness. Now, upon encountering Qin's yoga and Elder Kuanghua, the two men furrowed their brows, speaking in solemn tones. Kuanghua. This must be the holy son of Taishu, I presume. Huang Zhe's cold gaze fell upon Qin's yoga, a faint smile forced upon his lips. Qin's yoga slightly cupped his hands together, chuckling softly. I am Qin's yoga from Taishu Mountain. Though even in mirth, there lingered an air of frostiness. The two parties exchanged polite pleasantries for a brief moment before lapsing into silence. The fiery gazes of all present were riveted upon the domain of flames ahead. Had amassed boundless divine firepower. Now that it was unleashed, the flames in that domain were at their zenith. Even powerful beings would find it perilous to recklessly intrude at this moment. At that juncture, a great battle would be unavoidable. Whoosh, whoosh. Just then, the brows of the gathered individuals furrowed as they turned their attention to the distant horizon. There, two equally formidable presences were rapidly approaching. He licked his lips and spoke in a deep voice. Qingma Jiao mirrored this sentiment, his dark golden pupils gradually consumed by a frenzied hue, although they were unaware of the specifics of the great sun-burning heaven flame. Now, in the face of such an astonishing creation, his murderous intent towards Qingma Jiao was instantly cast aside. His slanted eyes focused solely on the blazing flames before him. Mu Luo. Upon seeing the newcomer, both the Dan Kuang Old Ghost and Huang Zhe furrowed their brows, yet they maintained their composure and greeted him with courtesy. Dan Kuang Old Ghost, Huang Zhe. It is you. A flicker of wariness passed through Mu Luo's eyes as he reluctantly nodded towards the two. His gaze shifting to Elder Kuanghua and Qin's yoga. Elder Kuanghua, you are here as well, and the holy son of Taishu. What, is it that you, Mu Luo, can appear here while I and Jyoga cannot? Which had nearly torn their holy lands apart. Naturally, he wore a grim expression. To this, Qin's yoga appeared oblivious. He offered a slight bow to Mu Luo, a gentle smile gracing his face. I am honored to meet you. Saying, there is no need for such courtesy, holy son of Taisu. Qin's yoga chose to disregard him, offering a slight bow to the Qingma Jiao. Senior Qingma Jiao, it is a pleasure to see you again. The mention of the holy son of Taisu elicited a narrowing of the Qingma Jiao's pupils, a flicker of anger flashing through his cold gaze. Were it not for Qin's yoga, he would not be pursued by the Yuanshu sacred land at this moment. With a chilling smile, he turned to Mu Luo and said, He, Mu Luo, it is not I who has slain the prodigy of your Yuanshu sacred land, but rather this esteemed holy son of Tai Su standing before us. This matter has already been confirmed by the Dantai faction. Why must you press me so? The truth behind the demise of Dantai sect has long been laid bare. It was the doing of Qin's yoga. Time slipped by unnoticed. Approximately a quarter of an hour later, a peculiar wave of energy quietly spread, causing the previously searing air in the vicinity to suddenly cool slightly, though this diminishment was trivial. Those present, each extraordinary in their own right, immediately sensed the shift. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sharp sound of slicing wind erupted simultaneously as all present sprang into action, launching themselves forward with great velocity, stirring up a tempest. Qin's yoga and his companions did the same, yet Qin's yoga and a dog, despite their efforts, lagged behind the great powers by a fraction. The moment they stepped into that fiery region, Qin's yoga sensed a disorienting alteration in space. Perhaps long since collapsed, yet it continued to exert influence here, isolating this place from the greater world beyond. Swish, upon entering this realm, the surrounding atmosphere surged with an intense heat, as if the very space itself had ignited into a blazing inferno. On the brink of being refined, the emergence of the extraordinary flames ignited a fervent excitement among the powerful beings, their faces flushed with fervor as they surged forth with uncontainable zeal. Young master? Agu's expression tightened. Qin's yoga's demeanor grew grave, and he spoke with a solemn tone. We must proceed. With that, he propelled himself towards the volcano's mouth, followed closely by Elder Kuanghua and Agu. Young master? Slowly shaking his head without further elaboration, remaining steadfast in his course. Observing this, Agu and Elder Kuanghua exchanged glances, choosing not to question further. Though they could not fully comprehend Qin intentions, Agun never doubted him. Their protective energies barely able to penetrate, easily repelled. Here, the fiery energy was palpably more menacing, as if capable of incinerating all in its path, without a moment's hesitation. The four formidable beings made their choice simultaneously. While below was an open space, as if the magma floated in the void, unbound by the laws of gravity. This sight was astonishing to it is a formation. The elder of fiery flames spoke gravely. Astonishment flickered in his eyes as he marveled. In response, Qin Zhogao nodded in silence, carefully surveying the environment around him. This place effectively shielded them from the dreadful magma, yet the temperature here was remarkably higher than that within the magma. Several times over, compelling even Qin Zhogao to continually circulate his vital energy to protect himself. Qin Zhogao brushed the Qianquan ring, retrieving a low-grade spiritual weapon. A horrifying scene unfolded. The moment the low-grade spiritual weapon was drawn, it became searing hot, turning crimson in an instant, the spiritual energy contained within dissipating at an alarming rate. What a terrifying heat! Ago furrowed his brow, though he was a prodigious figure of unparalleled strength. Majestic and imposing, beyond this underground palace, the subterranean realm extended in all directions, resembling a world unto itself, with a view dominated by a sea of red. Clearly, the temperature was utterly fearsome no matter where one looked. This palace must be the heart of this place. The elder of fiery flames spoke with unprecedented gravity. Within the confines of this palace, a tempestuous energy of flame lay dormant, flickering and elusive. As if an extraordinary fire possessed consciousness, concealing itself, Qin Zhogao had no doubt that should that fiery energy erupt, a fierce battle would ensue instantaneously. The atmosphere within the palace was charged, on the brink of explosion. Although it was but a slender wisp, it astonishingly scorched the void, causing the very fabric of space to collapse and reveal a pitch-black rift. In an instant, the temperature throughout the entire expanse surged to a terrifying new height, almost causing them to leap from their chests. The response of the powerful beings was remarkably swift. The moment the golden flame manifested, the four formidable entities moved almost in unison, rushing towards that flame. Eager to seize the initiative, the Elder of Wildfire felt his heart race as he observed the others spring into action. With a cold snort, he prepared to launch himself forward. However, at that moment, a long arm silently appeared, blocking his path. It was none other than Qin Zhogao. Zhogao, the Elder of Wildfire, felt a surge of urgency. Yet, Qin Zhogao maintained a calm demeanor, thoughtfully gazing ahead, and softly uttered, "Wait a moment." The Elder of Wildfire was perplexed. Just then, an unforeseen change occurred. Silently and swiftly, that wisp of flame began to spread rapidly, as if igniting the very air, enveloping the three men and one beast entirely, each of them sustaining injuries to that moment. The four formidable entities were quite disheveled, their robes charred, and their bodies bearing varying degrees of burns. Among them, the Qingma Jiao appeared to be the most severely affected. Observing this, the Elder of Wildfire's expression momentarily faltered, his heart filled with trepidation. Had it not been for Qin Zhogao's intervention, he too would have surely suffered burns. Haha, foolish. At that juncture, a hoarse voice resounded within the palace. Seeking death, the Danquang old ghost bellowed, suddenly unleashing a powerful palm strike, causing myriad strands of flames to intertwine and ensnare that magma giant hand. A master alchemist. The Danquang old ghost naturally practiced fire attribute techniques. However, unlike the explosive nature of other fire techniques, the flame strands he wielded possessed a certain flexibility, momentarily hindering the speed of that magma hand. Humph! Boom! Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted as the magma, previously contained by a formation above, where a glimmer of ethereal light emanated from the Qianquan ring on his finger, revealing two identical jade talismans. He discreetly passed one of them to Elder Kuanghua, who was momentarily taken aback before accepting it. Should I crush this one in my hand, you will be able to sense my location with the one in your possession. At that time, I would greatly appreciate your prompt assistance. As for this place, humph, this flame and I, the holy son of Tai Su Mountain, are destined to be. He laughed boisterously, reaching out his hand, intent on seizing the opportunity amidst the chaos of the other five formidable beings to capture the golden flame. Not a chance. In an instant, the five individuals, already driven to madness by the battle, abruptly redirected their weapons, unleashing five formidable streams of primordial energy that surged violently towards Elder Kuanghua. Humph! Elder Kuanghua let out a muffled grunt, his figure momentarily pausing in the void. deftly evading the onslaught of those 5 powerful energy strikes. Heh, you aspire to reap the benefits of others' toil. What a clever notion, the representative of the Yuanshu Holy Land. Mu Luo sneered, his hand wielding a battle blade intricately carved with a dragon, which he swung with ferocity. Instantly, a razor-sharp blade aura materialized, extending 3 zhong in length, howling as it sliced towards Elder Quanghua. Boom! The thunderous roar echoed incessantly, resonating like a colossal bell within Qin Zhouge's mind. The battle among the 6 formidable beings had escalated to a fever pitch for that fleeting golden flame in the void. Even with the suppression of a powerful formation, the very ground trembled, and the lava above in the void flowed chaotically, as if at any moment, this subterranean palace would collapse in a cataclysmic roar. Qin Zhouge spoke softly. Agu was momentarily taken aback. The pathfire that Qin Zhouge had tirelessly pursued was right before him, yet he now wished to leave. This was uncharacteristic of the young master. And in the blink of an eye, he exited the subterranean palace's confines. Agu hurriedly followed suit. Their movements naturally did not escape the notice of the great powers, but at this moment, they were already consumed by the frenzy of battle. Prompting an urgent response. Go, Qin Zhouge commanded with a wave of his hand, and a dog's figure darted off, swiftly probing the western direction. Qin Zhouge remained equally active, taking matters into his own hands. Designed to attract attention, while the true Dao fire is concealed within a distinct, independent realm. However, that realm lies hidden within the depths of this underground world. In the story, the protagonist, Xiao Fan, capitalized on the distraction caused by the Dao fire's incarnation. Just then, a signal from a dog caught his attention. Qin Zhouge immediately grasped the situation and propelled himself towards a dog's direction, darting through the void like a flash of white lightning. Young master, I found it, a dog declared in a low voice, struggling to conceal his excitement. Before a dog, the crimson landscape appeared unchanged to the naked eye, yet he suddenly unleashed a punch, revealing transparent ripples that emitted powerful and ancient fluctuations of primal force. Indeed, Qin Zhouge nodded slightly, a fervent glimmer igniting in his gaze as he gradually closed his eyes. Within his consciousness, the miniature soul that mirrored his own also shut its eyes. An invisible wave of spiritual energy surged forth from Qin Zhouge's brow. The previously unremarkable void before him, upon the projection of his spirit, revealed an obscure space, as if countless layers of time and space were folding within, shrouded in a haze, attempting to isolate his spirit. Young master, what shall we do? Agu inquired, and with a mere mention of the situation, Qin Zhouge's meaning became clear to him, prompting his question. Qin Zhouge's gaze turned frigid, a sharpness in his voice as he responded. A diminutive figure, seemingly cast from gold, embraced a sword. Its features mirrored those of Qin Zhouge, exuding an ethereal aura as it shot forth a beam of brilliance from his brow, piercing the void ahead with resounding force. Surrounding this path, the symbols glimmered, inducing a sense of dizziness at a mere glance. Yet within the confines of the path, tranquility reigned supreme. Let us proceed. Qin Zhouge slowly opened his eyes, a flicker of fervent brilliance passing through them. His demeanor restored to an extreme calm as he spoke softly. Agu grinned maliciously, hastening to follow suit. As the two traversed, the path gradually closed behind them, fracturing into oblivion. From a distance, everything appeared as usual. But he swiftly cast aside such chaotic notions, his gaze sharpening as he assessed the small world before him. The expanse of this little world was unfathomable, yet, within the void ahead, a golden sun hung suspended. He wielded it as if it were a colossal cauldron, muscles rippling and sweat beading on his forehead. This was none other than the high-grade spiritual weapon flying knife belonging to Qin Zhouge. In that fleeting moment, Qin Zhouge had entrusted it to a dog, intent on thwarting Xiao Fan. The terrifying demonic flame energy surged within a dog, transforming the once gleaming flying knife into a pitch-black weapon, indicating he was fighting with all his might. Go! A dog bellowed, launching the flying knife with ferocious speed, akin to a divine dragon leaping forth, its murderous intent soaring into the sky. It is worth noting that a dog was a prodigy-level powerhouse. His murderous intent nearly boiling over, the technique cultivated by Xiao Fan was the most supreme fire path method in existence, so overwhelmingly extraordinary that it was seldom seen in the world, causing Xiao Fan to spew blood once more, nearly losing his balance. Yet, this blow seemed to awaken him fully. Taking a final deep breath, his eyes, brimming with profound hatred, locked onto Qin Zhouge as he spat. Qin Zhouge, akin to an injured primordial beast awakening. Soon, the impact of his injuries on Xiao Fan diminished significantly. While he could not fully heal, it was more than sufficient. Great sun burning heaven flame. Refine. He roared to the heavens. With this resolve, his expression solidified. As the confidant of the Saint of the Void, with countless elixirs aiding him, a Go seemed tireless, relentlessly attacking Xiao Fan even now. Boom. Suddenly, a Go unleashed another punch, causing Xiao Fan's entire being to shudder. Not to mention, outside this small world, powerful beings were already converging, poised to unveil the secrets of the palace's flame incarnation, and any delay could lead to unforeseen consequences. Yet, Xiao Fan never anticipated that Qin Zhouge would forsake the complete refinement of the great sun-burning heaven flame. Withdrawing from the fray in a fleeting moment, he vanished from sight. The others, being formidable beings themselves, possessed intellect and experience far beyond that of ordinary folk. Instinctively sensing that something was amiss, the few individuals exchanged knowing glances. Truly lived up to his reputation as a master of alchemy, possessing an understanding of Dao fire that surpassed that of the others. His pupils contracted as he swiftly discerned the truth. Dao fire? Qing Mo Jiao and Mu Luo had previously believed it to be merely a form of exceptionally potent foreign fire, but at this moment, they comprehended that it represented the essence of one of the 10 great Dao fires of the world. On the verge of shattering, whoa! Xiao Fan spat blood. Despite having consumed a life-renewing pill, he had already endured half an hour of relentless assaults from a Go, leaving him severely weakened. Now, after withstanding 2 strikes from Qin Zhouge. Boom, boom, boom. The master and servant, relentless in their assault, unleashed a horrifying barrage akin to a tempest, ferociously battering the luminous barrier of the high-grade formation. Crack. At last, a fissure appeared upon the shimmering barrier, gradually widening. Ultimately, with a soft hiss, it was utterly shattered, revealing Xiao Fan within, his face as pallid as parchment, his breath feeble. Upon witnessing this, Qin Zhouge's expression turned as frigid as ice, a terrifying murderous intent nearly overwhelming Xiao Fan. As he abruptly pointed, each movement exuding an ethereal grace, yet harboring lethal resolve. Roar! An illusory thunder dragon emerged, lunging forth from his slender, pale fingertips, charging toward Xiao Fan. In that moment, Xiao Fan was struck with dread. Saving Xiao Fan from the brink of destruction under Qin Zhouge's lethal onslaught, a formidable being. Boom, boom, boom. Almost simultaneously, powerful auras surged within this miniature world, an overwhelming pressure sweeping across the scene. It was the other formidable beings, now gathered within this realm of Dao fire, the sun of burning heaven. Upon entering, Dan Kuang Laogui, Huang Zhe, and Mu Luo were instantly captivated by the blazing sun formed from the Dao fire suspended in the void. Heh, I shall seek your forgiveness after this matter concludes. With that, the 3 plunged into a frenzied clash once more. Before the sun of burning heaven, none could maintain their composure. Zhouge, the gaze of Elder Kuanghua fell upon Qin Zhouge. As for going back on one's word, as long as the Qingma Jiao is not mad, it would be impossible to offend the Yuanshu sacred land, while simultaneously creating enmity with this esteemed son of the Taishu realm. Such is the confidence of the heirs of sacred lands. Xiao Fan's complexion turned even paler, and he coldly scoffed at the remark. Qin Zhouge, undeterred, maintained his smile, an air of playful amusement in his gaze as he regarded the ring in Xiao Fan's hand, the elder within the ring. Ha! Qin Zhouge chuckled, a flicker of derision passing through his indifferent gaze. Elder, do you take me for a mere child of 3? The elderly man's calm demeanor gradually transformed, taking on a more piercing intensity as he spoke in a deep voice. Young man. And what if I do? He retorted coldly, his tone imbued with an undeniable authority. Although you are formidable, what remnants of your former glory remain in your current state? As he spoke, his piercing gaze bore down on the elder. In that moment, none observed that the blazing sun, transformed from the sun-burning heaven flame within the void, had subtly contracted, seemingly reluctant to be tainted by that fiery essence. Only Qin Zhouge, harboring a suspicion, kept a watchful eye, and soon discovered, causing his pupils to constrict. The frenzied fire elder grunted coldly, swiftly evading the fiery onslaught, and launched a punch aimed at the ethereal entity. The tumultuous clash erupted, its intensity rivaling, if not surpassing, the other 2 battlegrounds, as flames filled the sky. Although the elder was merely an ethereal entity, he was astonishingly powerful, not only matching but slightly overpowering the frenzied fire elder. Young man, you underestimate me too much. In the midst of the fray, the elder still possessed the strength to regard Xiao Fan. deftly wielding his fiery scepter to block the frenzied fire elder while his other hand clenched the air. Chapter 88. Slaying Xiao Fan. Faced with the sudden appearance of the sword, the elder furrowed his brow. Though he had long since lost the brilliance of his peak years, his survival in an ethereal state attested to his formidable soul power. Producing a jarring clang of metal upon metal, this sword was overwhelmingly potent, more terrifying than the threat posed by the frenzied fire elder. Although he managed to deflect it, it still forced a muffled grunt from the elder. Before him stood a figure clad in azure garments, her eyes like autumn waters, her brows resembling distant mountains. With the essence of autumn waters for spirit and jade for bone, her features bore an air of serene aloofness. This was the secret of space, involving a fragment of the world's operational force, accessible only to those who had attained an exceptionally profound level of cultivation, an utterly terrifying prospect. Foolish child, come, the elder bellowed. In an instant, he extracted an object and hurled it towards Xiao Fan with a resounding thud. It was none other than the lifeless body of Dan Aixian. Xiao Fan, would you desire for Dan Aixian's corpse to be desecrated after her demise? All he sought was a fleeting moment. In that instant of Xiao Fan's distraction, Qin Jiugao surged forth, his form as ethereal as a celestial being, yet as swift as one of the same realm. Qin Jiugao's form was relentless, akin to Mount Tide bearing down, as he stepped upon Xiao Fan's headless corpse, pressing it further into the earth until it vanished completely beneath the surface. Qin Jiugao's gaze was terrifyingly indifferent as he prepared to unleash a devastating strike, intending to obliterate Xiao Fan's very soul. However, at that moment, an unexpected turn of Eve. Qin Jiugao's gaze was profound and unwavering, fixated on the old man's movements, a fleeting shadow of reluctance passing over his features. With a wave of his hand, a ring radiating a flickering red light erupted from the earth and fell into his grasp. From that ring, Qin Jiugao sensed a faint yet familiar soul fluctuation. At present, he was in an extreme state of desperation, unable to sustain himself for long, and thus could not afford to waste time by recklessly attempting to slay Qin Jiugao. As he spoke, this declaration was an unequivocal threat. Upon hearing it, Qin Mo Jiao's expression shifted slightly, clearly weighing the significance of Qin Jiuji's words in his mind. After a moment, he coldly replied, "What exactly is it?" Thus avenging the earlier obstruction you faced, you wish to refine the great sun-burning heaven flame? Qin Mo Jiao's pupils constricted as he gazed at Qin Jiugu. Without denial, Qin Jiugu nodded earnestly. He had already established a preliminary connection with the great sun-burning heaven flame. Complete refinement was merely a matter of time. As long as he could successfully stall the array of formidable beings before him. Especially after witnessing the destruction of Xiao Fan's physical form, followed by the escape of a fragment of his soul, he felt a wave of disheartenment wash over him. Moreover, being merely at the early stage of the divine connection. Humph, we acknowledge your strength, but to simultaneously attack the three of us is a foolish dream. The three scoffed, instantly unleashing a tremendous assault. In an instant, raging flames, azure blades of light, and surging torrents of water. Struck by the terrifying sword light, blood gushing from his back. Had it not been for Qing Fei facing three opponents, thereby dispersing her power, this single strike would have been enough to severely injure him. The delicate visage of Qing Fei darkened slightly in comparison to the ancient beings before her. She was exceedingly youthful, having only just transcended to the realm of the great power. Although her void physique endowed her with combat prowess far surpassing that of her peers. The three formidable beings were left utterly astonished, their hearts trembling as they beheld the slowly closing rift before them. It is essential to understand that as one ascends in cultivation, the disparities between realms become increasingly pronounced and insurmountable. Each of them was at least at the mid-stage of the divine path, with Dan Kuang Lao Gui and Huangze being late-stage ancient existences. Steeped in this realm for centuries, their accumulations formidable. Their desperate joint assault was effortlessly neutralized. Such prowess could only be described as monstrous. Naturally, employing such a grand technique took a toll on Qing Fei as well. Her delicate countenance paled, and her internal energy surged violently. Boom! The battle among the five reached a fever pitch in an instant. As for a go, he was not yet in a position to intervene in this grand confrontation of powers, standing resolutely before the Golden Dao platform as the final line of defense. While the lava giant was somewhat stronger, likely at the mid-stage, it would be easy for the great powers to determine the victor, but if the Qingma Jiao merely aimed to delay the lava giant, half an hour should suffice. However, regarding Qing Fei's situation, he pondered for a moment. Although Elder Kuanghua was formidable, He should be on par with Dan Kuang Laogui and Huangze, while Qing Fei's realm posed a significant disadvantage. Then directly into his Dantian Sea of Qi, transforming into a blazing sun that burned fiercely at this instant. An astonishing phenomenon erupted at the position of Qin Jiugong's Dantian, the great sun illuminating the Golden Sea. Chapter 91. Divine Might Repels the Mighty. The seventh-ranked fire among the 10 great fires of the universe, the great sun of heavenly incineration, was thoroughly refined by Qin Jiugong. Had he succeeded? Indeed, he had. Gathered here specifically for the great sun of heavenly incineration. Yet, the outcome was that this celestial flame had fallen into the hands of a mere younger generation shackled by limitations. Even if he were the saint child of the void. His eerie gaze swept coldly over the nearby Qin Mo Jiao, and with a disdainful snort, he too left the scene. Qin Jiugao appeared unfazed, still smiling. I bid you farewell, esteemed elder, in this place. Only the Qin Mo Jiao and the lava giant remained. Though they had fought side by side previously, the Qin Mo Jiao bore no true affection towards Qin Jiugao, with a deep, complex gaze directed at him. Qin Jiugao's voice suddenly rang out, no longer a farewell, but rather, esteemed elder, please hold. Upon hearing this, the air in this miniature world seemed to freeze instantaneously. The lava giant's indistinct visage was momentarily taken aback. Slowly turning around, his eyes resembling two miniature suns as they fixed upon Qin Jiugao in a deep voice, he inquired, what is it that you desire? Qin Jiugao smiled lightly, yet his words dripped with the chill of eternal ice. Xiao Fan is my arch-nemesis. No other purpose. Qin Jiugao spoke softly, his eyes icy to the bone, his tone indifferent as he declared, I merely wish to borrow the head of a senior for a moment. Upon utterance of these words, the hall fell into an astonished silence. In an instant, the atmosphere became deathly still. Ha! After a brief pause, the lava giant's rage transformed into laughter, a booming sound that echoed, causing everyone's ears to ring. Youngster, you are exceedingly arrogant. What if you are the offspring of a sacred land? Do you truly dare to kill a dignified, powerful being? Ha 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 ha. Yet, in the next moment, his laughter was abruptly stifled, caught in his throat. As if thunder had struck the void, two streaks of light flashed, like lightning. Qing Fei and Elder Kuang positioned themselves before and behind him, surrounding him at eye level in comparison to his terrifyingly large form, resulting in the deaths of two powerful beings. All those powerful entities had fallen by the hands of other powerful beings. Now, Qin Jiugao, at such a tender age, was poised to issue a command to slay a powerful being.